Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. My medicine cauldron can automatically pill refining. Chapter 81. Time flies, and a month and a half have passed. Today, in the vast world, I saw a little brilliance reflected in the pill refining room. Vajra, who was busy in the medicine garden, seemed to feel something, and looked up. On the rocky mountain, Jerry, who was sleeping and practicing, was also awakened, opened his eyes and looked towards the pill refining room. Is it the vision from the boss's cultivation? This doubt came to Vajra and Jerry's mind. The two demonic beasts glanced at each other from the air, and at the same time they galloped towards the pill refining room. Before approaching, I heard Shu Yufan's voice coming from inside. Ha, my divine physique has finally been refined to the limit that can be achieved at the 9th level of chi refining. Vajra and Jerry moved in unison, and both beasts stopped in front of the pill refining room. The boss has spoken, which proves that he does not have chi deviation. Crackling, the dilapidated wooden door opened, and a refreshed Shu Yufan walked out. Boss. Vajra and Jerry stepped forward quickly. Shu Yufan nodded with a smile, and said, Little Jin Shaoji, I haven't seen you in half a month, you've gained weight again. Boss, just now I saw a vision coming out of the pill refining room, and thought you had a fork. Vajra said with a worried look on his face. Cracking. Jerry said he thought so too. Shu Yufan waved his hands and said, I'm worrying you, that's the vision that came out after I cultivated the divine body art to the limit that can be achieved at the 9th level of chi refining. Hearing this, Vajra and Jerry felt relieved. One man and two beasts sat down in front of the pill refining room and began to talk to each other. When Shu Yufan, the White Ape King Vajra, and the Spirit Mouse Jerila were doing their homework, the big square of the Bashan mine was bustling with activity. Mining disciples lined up in a long queue, waiting to hand in the Spirit Stones. Another 3 monthly hand in Spirit Stones conference. Long Wenji sat behind the long table, squinting his eyes slightly, listening to Zhao Xinyu's report next to him. Senior brother Long, that kid still hasn't come out. Hua Fei and Lin Feng have no news. It seems that he was really beheaded by that kid surnamed Shu. Zhao Xinhu said to Long Wenji respectfully. Long Wenji didn't answer immediately, and remained motionless as if he was asleep. About half an hour passed before he opened his mouth slightly and said, Yes, I got it. Zhao Xinhu didn't dare to talk to him, so he could only quietly wait beside him. After a long time, Long Wenji opened his eyes. Let's start, let them hand in the Spirit Stones. ... Nothing in the whole. Years, 6 months passed by in a flash. Today, it's time to turn in the Spirit Stones again. There was a lot of noise at the entrance of the Bashan mine, and people came up from it from time to time. In the luxurious manner, Long Wenji stood in the center of the hall, and a middle-aged man sat on it. He was the cultivator Hubo of the Foundation establishment period who brought Shu Yufan and others here a year. Nephew Long, besides confiscating the Spirit Stones from Bashan mine for 1 year for sect, I also have a mission to come here this time. You can go with me then. Hubo spoke slowly. Long Wenji was slightly stunned, but he wisely didn't ask what the task was. Okay, uncle. Hubo nodded in satisfaction. Spirit Stones will wait for you to collect this time and then pack them together. You go to the square first and collect the amount for these 3 months first. Then Hubo waved his hand, indicating that Long Wenji could leave. Yes, disciple obeys. Long Wenji saluted and withdrew. Just as he was about to leave the manor, Zhao Xinhu came over. How is it? Is there a kid named Shu? Long Wenji asked coldly. Zhao Xinhu shook his head. I didn't see it. Long Wenji frowned. After today, he will leave Bashan Spirit Stones and return to sect. If Shu Yufan didn't show up today, then he definitely wouldn't be able to kill Shu Yufan. Today is his 1-year exile period, and it is also the last date to extend the submission of Spirit Stones. After today, even if he comes out with 10 times as many Spirit Stones, he must accept the punishment. Isn't Shu Yufan afraid of sect regulations? Or did he die with Lin Feng and Hua Fei? Quote, Long Wenji murmured softly, and his eyes were full of doubts. Brother, take care of him. It doesn't matter whether he lives or dies. If he is alive, he will come out now, and the time will be postponed for 1 year. According to the regulations of sect, he will hand in the low-rank Spirit Stones of 120,000 yuan. It can't be done anyway. If he doesn't come out now and sneaks out in a few days, that's a violation of the rules of the house, and sect can't spare him. In the end, it would be even better if he had already died with Hua Fei Lin Feng, as senior brother Long said. So, brother, no matter what, we are sure to win. Quote. Zhao Xinyu's analysis was so logical that Long Wenji was taken aback for a while. After a long time, I came back to my senses, thought carefully, and felt that what Zhao Xinhu said made sense. His frown suddenly relaxed, and he said with a smile, "Hee, junior brother Zhao. Sect asked you to manage the Beishan Spirit Stone's mine temporarily in my place, and your brain suddenly became bright." Quote. Zhao Xinhu scratched his head with a smile. Haha, it all depends on the teaching of the senior brother. Long Wenji patted Zhao Xinhu on the shoulder. Good boy, he has understanding, not bad. After saying this, the two left the manor one after the other. In the depths of the mine, in one of the thousands of passages, in the dark and empty passage, suddenly a young man dressed in Qianyuanzong's inner sect costume appeared out of thin air. I saw his expression was calm, the lines on his face were clearly drawn, his facial features were exquisite, and he looked handsome. On his shoulder, a demonic beast, a rat with jet black and glossy fur, was half sprawled. "Ahaha, I'm Hu Hansen, ah no, I'm Shu Yufan is back." The young man howled. This beast is exactly Shu Yufan and Jerry the spirit mouse. "Boss, what's your ghost name?" Jerry raised his paws and made gestures, looking even more dazzling than before. "Haha, I've been holding back for a long time, just expressing my emotions," Shu Yufan said with a smile. Jerry made an idiotic look. "Okay, let's go now, or we won't be in time." Shu Yufan waved his hand and said to Jerry. "Go, where are you going?" Jerry didn't know why. "Go back to the ground, of course, and turn in the spirit stones." "Then boss, let's go." "How do I go? I don't know the way." "I don't know the way either." "What? I brought you out just to let you lead the way." "Boss, I'm just a spirit mouse, not a path mouse, so how do I know the way?" One person and one beast looked at each other in blank dismay. "Let's pinch our fingers." Shu Yufan sighed, stretched out his finger, twirled it in a circle, and then clicked randomly. "Okay, this is the way," Shu Yufan said confidently. This is his finger-pointing method. Jerry made an expression of, "I don't know this idiot," on his shoulder, with a look of disgust. After half a quarter of an hour, Shu Yufan looked at the stone wall in front of him, a little dazed. "Ah, the finger-pinching method is out of order." Shu Yufan shook his head, turned and went out. Half an hour later, Shu Yufan stood in the middle of an 8-way tunnel, his face flushed red. "This is not a choice. After thinking for a while, I didn't know which way to go." At this moment, the sound of broken footsteps came from the passage. "Hey, someone is here, Xiaoji, you go back to the Great Thousand World first." Shu Yufan responded quickly, and sent Xiaoji back to the Great Thousand World. Footsteps gradually approached. Shu Yufan narrowed his eyes slightly and stepped into one of the passages. Then the breath is restrained, and the divine sense spreads out. At the same time, he looked towards the passage where the footsteps sounded. I saw 2 disciples dressed in inner disciple costumes of Qianyuanzong walking slowly, surrounded by a young and beautiful woman. The 3 of them were clean and tidy, not like mining disciples. "Hey, why are there women here?" Seeing the woman in the middle, a question mark appeared in Shu Yufan's mind. There are no female disciples in the entire Beishan Spirit Stone's mine. Why are there women at the bottom of the mine? Although he was puzzled in his heart, Shu Yufan did not come out, but still hid in the passage and observed secretly. The cultivation base of these 3 people is not high, and the 2 disciples wearing Qianyuanzong inner sect clothes only have the 6th level of qi refining. And that woman's cultivation base is even lower, only the 4th level of qi refining. One of the 2 inner disciples looks older, about 27 or 88, and the other one is about the same age as Shu Yufan. The woman who made it was younger, probably only 17 or 18 years old. The 3 of them stopped suddenly, only to hear the beautiful woman say, "Why did you bring me to the mine?" "Junior sister Chen, brother Zhao ordered you to come down and hide for a few days because sect is here senior. The child in my stomach is about to be born, how can I open such a place?" The woman known as Chen Shimei said angrily. Junior sister Chen, just bear with it. If sect senior finds out about this, not only will senior brother Zhao not be the top leader of the Spirit Stones mine in Beishan, he may even lose his life. The older inner disciple persuaded. HMPH, Zhao Xinhu is not a human being, he actually disregarded me and his children for his own benefit, what a fool. Junior sister Chen was furious and cursed directly. Xu Yufan looked and found that the woman surnamed Chen was actually a pregnant woman. The inner disciple looked at each other, not daring to speak. After a pause, the older inner disciple persuaded again. Junior sister Chen, just bear with it, senior brother Zhao will let you choose another day to be reborn, and junior brother and I will use magic power to help you protect the fetus, there will be absolutely no problems. After a few days, brother Zhao will take the position of supervisor of Beishan Spirit Stones Mine, Yuan. The child in the womb is an inexhaustible blessing. Quote, rebirth on another day. He, Zhao Xinhu, was also raised by his mother. How could he say such a thing? You asked his mother to try rebirth on another day when he was raised by his mother. Junior sister Chen was also violent and shouted loudly. That, brother Zhao, he has no mother. The young inner disciple said faintly. Junior sister Chen, elderly disciple. Ha ha ha, Xu Yufan finally couldn't help it, and laughed out loud like a pig. This Zhao Xinhu is too inhuman, and he can even have a reincarnation at another day. Who's where? The two disciples looked flustered. If someone found out, Zhao Xinhu would definitely not make it easy for them. Xu Yufan walked out of the passage after a little thought. When the three saw Xu Yufan, they stopped immediately. I don't know which senior brother is in front. Seeing the cultivation base who couldn't see through Xu Yufan, the 27-year-old inner disciple immediately asked respectfully. The other young disciples stared at Xu Yufan closely, not daring to relax their vigilance. And junior sister Chen looked at Xu Yufan curiously. Xu Yufan was full of smiles. Two junior brothers, don't panic, this Xu Yufan is a disciple of mining. What, are you Xu Yufan? The three people on the opposite side turned pale with shock. You know me, Xu Yufan asked. Yes, and often. The three people on the opposite side answered together. Xu Yufan, Monk Zhong couldn't figure it out. Do I have such a big reputation? Are you really senior brother Xu Yufan? Asked the older disciple. Yes, Xu Yufan is a fake. Xu Yufan nodded affirmatively. After hearing this, the facial expressions of the three people on the opposite side changed extremely quickly. Xu Yufan frowned, and after a little thought, he understood. These three people are all people around Zhao Xinhu, and it seems that Zhao Xinhu mentioned it in their ears. Seeing Xu Yufan frown, the expressions of the three of them suddenly changed. They followed Zhao Xinhu all the year round, but they knew that Zhao Xinhu wanted to kill Xu Yufan. Brother Xu, what are you doing here? The older disciples didn't want the atmosphere to cool down, so they hurriedly found something to talk about, trying to make the atmosphere better. We must find a way out. Xu Yufan didn't hide anything. After finishing speaking, he asked again, are you Zhao Xinhu's subordinates? Xu Yufan, the air is very flat. All three of them jumped in their hearts. No. Both the older disciples and the younger disciples categorically denied it. Junior sister Chen hesitated, but finally nodded. I am his girlfriend. Soon, he added, from now on it will not be. Xu Yufan didn't speak. It's really not a human thing to let a good friend choose another day to be born again. Senior brother Xu, we were also forced, not Zhao Xinhu's henchmen, don't kill us. The older disciple hastily explained. He heard that Lin Feng and Hua Fei were both killed by each other, and his little transparency would definitely not be able to survive a single move. Oh, why were you forced? Xu Yufan looked at the older disciple with great interest. The older disciple hesitated for a moment, then slowly began to speak to Xu Yufan. After listening, Xu Yufan pondered for a while and said, so, Uncle Hu came to Beishan Spirit Stones mine to collect spirit stones. Brother Long's term of office is over, and he has to return to sect for the foundation establishment period. Sect asked Zhao Xinhu to temporarily preside over the Beishan Spirit Stones mine, in order to prevent Uncle Hu from knowing that at this time, Zhao Xinhu forced you to take junior sister Chen to the mine to hide. Quote. That's it, we're all forced. The two disciples nodded repeatedly. Zhao Xinyu, I was really blind at the time for this motherless thing. Junior sister Chen couldn't bear it any longer, and cursed again. Xu Yufan touched his nose, ignored junior sister Chen, and asked the older disciples again. This is Brother Long, do you know? I know, Senior Brother Long must know that Zhao Xinhu is Brother Long's lackey, why don't you tell Senior Brother Long about this? The older disciple also fought for his life, and he answered Xu Yufan's questions. Xu Yufan nodded in satisfaction, and said, okay, you're smart enough to know the pros and cons. Hee, Senior Brother Xu, then, can you spare our lives? The older disciple asked humbly. Forgive your lives. Xu Yufan smiled slightly, not yet. After the three heard this, their faces changed drastically. Senior Brother Xu, if you have any other requests, just say so. I will definitely cooperate with Senior Brother Xu, and ask Senior Brother Xu to spare our lives. The three exclaimed at the same time. Xu Yufan showed a helpless look and said, don't be nervous, I just don't know the way out of the mine, I just want you to lead the way. Brother Xu, are you sure you're not joking? The older disciple showed disbelieving eyes. Is it necessary for me to lie to you? Xu Yufan spread his hands. The three thought for a while, Xu Yufan really had to deceive them. But they still think it's stupid for a brother with a higher cultivation base than them to get lost. Will you spare our lives as long as we take you out? The older disciple asked tentatively. Xu Yufan nodded. Then, will junior sister Chen still stay here and choose another day to be reborn? The young disciple asked. Junior sister Chen's face froze, and she couldn't help cursing. Zhao Xinhu, a motherless fool, is really nothing. Xu Yufan raised his eyebrows. As you wish. This matter is still not mixed. The three looked at each other, and finally the older disciple spoke. Let's take Senior Brother Xu out and leave the mine, and ask Senior Brother Xu to keep his promise. After finishing speaking, he took the lead to lead the way for Xu Yufan. Xu Yufan was not afraid of their tricks, and followed them with ease. But the young disciple and junior sister Chen were at the end. After walking for more than an hour, they finally came not far from the exit. Brother Xu, the exit is 100 meters ahead, you can go out by yourself, there are guards at the entrance of the cave, so it is inconvenient for us to take you out to play together. Xu Yufan didn't answer immediately, he felt carefully, the breeze was blowing head-on, with a breath of fresh air not found in the mine tunnel. The older disciple did not lie, as expected he was almost at the exit. Are you going to continue the mine and choose another day to regenerate? Xu Yufan asked lightly. Where else can I go if I don't go down? If I go out, I can't kill Senior Brother Zhao. The older disciple smiled wryly. The inner disciples sent to the Spirit Stones mine like them were all abandoned by sect. Although they are better than the mining disciples, it still depends on other people's faces after all. If you want, I can take you away. These words exploded in the hearts of the three like a bomb. The three reacted quickly, and both knelt down and bowed to Xu Yufan. I also ask Senior Brother Xu to take us away, the grace of saving lives will never be forgotten. As soon as the three of them finished speaking, they suddenly felt dizzy, and then fell unconscious and fell to the ground. It seems that there are other wonderful uses of practicing spirit-controlling Ju. Xu Yufan muttered in a low voice. Just now, when the three of them had lost their guard against him and had no defenses, he directly used the power of the soul to control the three of them with thunder, causing them to faint. Although it seems easy, it is actually very expensive. This attack caused him to lose most of the power of his soul, and he would never be able to recover within a day. Xu Yufan divine sense was released, locked the three of them, and pulled them directly into the Great Thousand World. Afterwards, he also entered the Great Thousand World, explained to Vajra and Jerry, and then returned to the mine. After tidying up his clothes habitually, Xu Yufan strode towards the entrance. When he came to the entrance, the scorching sun shone in, making Xu Yufan unable to open his eyes. Seeing Xu Yufan coming out, the two guard disciples showed no emotion on their faces, as if they were used to it. Xu Yufan stood at the entrance, took a few greedy breaths of fresh air, and then looked in the direction of the square. After taking a final look, he took out a black cloth from the storage bag, covered his face, turned around and walked towards the house he lived in. Although the three of junior sister Chen were fainted by Xu Yufan, but he couldn't guarantee how long it would take for them to wake up. For the sake of safety, it is better to get those three people into their own room. On the square, handing in spirit stones was still going on, and the mining disciplines were happy and sad, with different expressions. Xu Yufan put the three of them in his own room, then turned around and came to the main square. At this time, more than half of the mining disciples who handed in the spirit stones had been completed, and there were still more than 40 people queuing up. Xu Yufan is not hypocritical, he went to the end and continued to line up. Perhaps because of covering his face, no one paid attention to him. The spirit stones were turned in very quickly, one after another. Next person. As Zhao Xinyu's voice sounded, there was no one in front of Xu Yufan. Well, it's my turn. Xu Yufan stepped forward and took out the storage bag and brand that Zhao Xinhu had issued to him back then. Hey, why are you covering your face? Zhao Xinhu asked sharply. I showed my face for fear of frightening you. Xu Yufan replied indifferently. What bullshit are you talking about? That scares me at the Spirit Stones mine in North Mountain. As soon as Zhao Xinhu heard Xu Yufan's words, he became angry. Long Wenji, who was sitting obliquely in the chair, frowned, as if he was dissatisfied with Zhao Xinyu's words. Oh, really? Xu Yufan said noncommittally. Then senior brother Zhao can open his eyes wide, don't be scared by me. As he spoke, Xu Yufan tore off the black cloth. Xu Yufan. Zhao Xinhu screamed, It's you, Xu Yufan. That's right, it's me, what's the matter? Is senior brother Zhao being scared by junior brother? A playful smile appeared on the corner of Xu Yufan's mouth. Xu Yufan. Long Wenji, who was reclined in the chair, cast his eyes on Xu Yufan. After one glance, he recognized Xu Yufan. Haha, it's really junior brother Xu Yufan. An excited smile appeared on Long Wenji's face. After waiting for a year, he finally came out. Originally thinking that Xu Yufan could not be killed, Long Wenji found good reasons to prevaricate Cheng Kui and Zhou Guangzong. Unexpectedly, Xu Yufan and Yu unexpectedly appeared at the last moment, which is simply a blessing from God. Brother Xu, I haven't seen you for a year, I miss you so much. Long Wenji was full of smiles. He is indeed very happy. He will leave the Beishan Spirit Stones mine tomorrow. Originally, Xu Yufan was a knot in his heart, and now God will help him smooth this knot. As soon as Long Wenji spoke, Zhao Xinhu didn't dare to speak. Hehe, I miss my brother very much, and I ask the two brothers to send a message to my brother to greet me. I don't know if my brother has received it. Xu Yufan had a bright smile on his face, and his words were full of meaning. Long Wenji's face changed suddenly. No matter how deep his palace was, he couldn't control the anger in his heart. The meaning of Xu Yufan's words is obvious. The two juniors refer to Lin Feng and Hua Fei. When Xu Yufan said this, he directly admitted that Hua Fei and Lin Feng died at his hands. Xu Yufan put away his smile, straightened his face, and said, Why is senior brother Long angry? What's wrong? Didn't you receive the greeting that Xu asked the two junior brothers to bring? Long Wenji almost spat out a mouthful of old blood, it was too ruthless to make up the knife. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Long Wenji squeezed out a smile. Well, junior brother Xu is right, Long has not received greetings from the two junior brothers. I'm afraid the two juniors lost their way and went to other places. But it doesn't matter, junior brother Xu will go and bring them back later. Quote. At the end, his tone became serious, and his murderous intent suddenly appeared. Xu Yufan was not affected at all, he stared directly at Long Wenji with piercing eyes. I'm afraid senior brother Long will have to go there in person. Today is the last day of my exile. Tomorrow I will leave the Spirit Stones mine in Beishan and return to sect. Oh, junior brother, did you forget one thing? You haven't handed in Spirit Stones in this year. Long Wenji said, Of course I won't forget this, senior brother Long, I'm standing here to deliver the Spirit Stones. Xu Yufan threw the storage bag and sign in his hand onto the table. Over the past year, my junior has been working hard to mine spirit stones in the mine, in order to complete the task assigned by my senior, and I dare not slack off. Hearing this, Long Wenji reached out to get the storage bag, but he didn't use divine sense to detect it. He took the storage bag in his hand and said, By the way, junior brother Xu probably forgot one thing. Originally, your standard for each cycle was 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. But the younger brother has not come out to hand in spirit stones for a year, so the number of spirit stones that need to be handed in has changed. Junior brother is clear. Quote, Shu Yufan nodded. Of course this is clear. After hesitating for a moment, he added, I just don't know the exact quantity. Long Wenji frowned at first, but when Shu Yufan said that he didn't know the exact quantity relationship, he immediately smiled happily again. Hee, even so, junior brother Zhao, come on, report to junior brother Shu Yufan the number of spirit stones he needs to turn in. Yes, senior brother Long. After Zhao Xinhu cupped hands to Long Wenji, he turned to look at Shu Yufan. Junior brother Shu postponed it for 1 year. According to the regulations, the number of spirit stones handed in every month is doubled, which means that he needs to hand in a total of 120,000 spirit stones. After finishing speaking, he looked at Shu Yufan with a look that you can never finish. 120,000 low-rank spirit stones. Shu Yufan pretended to be surprised, as if he hadn't expected it. This expression made Long Wenji and Zhao Xinhu very happy. Hee, not too much. If brother Shu didn't mind so many low-grade spirit stones, you can also use mid-grade spirit stones to hand in. According to the conversion, it is only 1,200 mid-range spirit stones. Quote. Long Wenji sneered. That's right, with an outstanding person like junior brother Shu, he must be able to exceed the quota. Zhao Xinhu also echoed. The two already fully believed that Shu Yufan didn't have so many spirit stones to turn in, and Long Wenji even started to think about what method to use. There is no way to kill Shu Yufan. Shu Yufan still pretended to be a little ashamed. He stood up slightly and said calmly. Shu really doesn't have 120,000 low-grade spirit stones, and of course, he doesn't have 1,200 mid-grade spirit stones, but what? Since you can't complete the task, then don't even think about making excuses, just accept the punishment prescribed by sect obediently. Zhao Xinhu interrupted roughly. That's right, junior brother Shu, if you can't turn in enough spirit stones, I can't help you either. Long Wenji made a pitiful look. Come on, take this kid to the back. Two of the inner disciples standing behind immediately walked towards Shu Yufan. Oh, wait, I haven't finished talking yet. Shu Yufan sneered, and continued. Although Shu does not have 120,000 low-grade spirit stones, nor 1,200 mid-grade spirit stones, I have 12 high-grade spirit stones in my storage bag. What? Top-tier spirit stones? Both Zhao Xinhu and Long Wenji showed expressions of disbelief. The storage bag is in your hand, you will know after checking it. Shu Yufan's tone returned to normal, completely without the respect he pretended before. Long Wenji put the divine sense into the storage bag, and then his face changed and turned red. How about it, senior brother Long, are there really 12 top-grade spirit stones inside? Zhao Xinhu asked eagerly. Long Wenji took a deep breath, and slowly raised his head to look at Shu Yufan. Junior brother Shu, that's not bad, you're indeed a man of excellence, the number of spirit stones you need to hand in is enough. When Zhao Xinhu heard it, he suddenly felt his head buzzing. Long Wenji understood what he said. There are 12 high-grade spirit stones in the storage bag. This kid is really lucky. Brother, do you understand a little bit? Shu Yufan asked with a smile. Long Wenji was taken aback for a moment, and then became angry immediately. How dare you, Shu Yufan, sarcastically say that I am blind? Just about to get angry, Shu Yufan said again. Senior brother Long, there is still a low-grade spirit stones in it. You have to write it down on the account. I, Shu Yufan, delayed for 1 year and overfulfilled the task. Shu Yufan reminded with a serious face. You. Long Wenji stood up suddenly, magic power surged, as if he was about to make a move. Shu Yufan was as steady as an old dog, motionless. He understood Long Wenji's attack. HMPH, junior brother, the spirit stones you handed in are enough, the mission is completed. Your 1-year exile period has also expired, and you can leave. After that, he raised his hand to make a few gestures on the jade tablet, and threw it to Shu Yufan. This is the mountain guard formation that can shuttle through the spirit stones mine in Beishan, you hold it. You can sacrifice the sign when you leave, but you have to remember that this is only valid once. Quote. Shu Yufan took it, looked at it a few times, found nothing abnormal, and put it into the storage bag. He wasn't afraid that Long Wenji would play tricks on the sign. Anyway, Long Wenji wouldn't let him go so easily, and there must be someone behind him waiting for him. Xu Yufan put away the sign and did not leave, but stepped forward and leaned over. Long Wenji didn't dodge, he didn't even move. Senior brother Long, I have something to tell you. Xu Yufan's mouth squirmed, and he transmitted the voice directly to Long Wenji. Before Long Wenji could respond, Xu Yufan spoke on his own. I met a woman in the mine, named Chen Shimei. She, who claims to be Brother Zhao's best friend, is pregnant with his child. Senior brother Zhao is also the real one, saying that Master Hu came and actually asked junior sister Chen to hide in the mine to choose another day for her rebirth. This matter, senior brother Long doesn't know, does he? But if sect knows about this, I'm afraid senior brother Long will also be implicated. Quote. The more Long Wenji heard it, the more ugly his face became. At the end of hearing it, he was about to explode, wishing he could kill Zhao Xinhu with a single blow. After Xu Yufan finished speaking, he retracted his body and stretched. Hey, I've been digging mines for a year, I'm going to have a good rest tonight, and I'll go back to sect tomorrow. Senior brother Long doesn't mind if I stay one more night. Quote. Xu Yufan turned his head and left while talking. Although he was asking about Long Wenji, he actually said it casually, and directly treated Long Wenji as a fart. Long Wenji's face was ashen at the moment. He was holding the storage bag tightly in one hand, and clenched his fist in the other. Guanjia with white fists can see how much effort Long Wenji has used at this time. Xu Yufan returned to the room where he lived and knocked on the door several times, but there was no response. After knocking a few more times, the door opened and the head of the senior disciple poked out. Brother Xu, you are back. The older disciple opened the door a crack. Xu Yufan got in. Entering inside, Xu Yufan was surprised to see that junior sister Chen and the young disciples were not there. What about the two of them? Xu Yufan asked. Chen, junior sister Chen gave birth, I moved them to a secret place. The older disciple's tone was full of helplessness. What? It's born. Xu Yufan was stunned. This was a bit sudden. I'm staying here to wait for you to come back. That place is very secret, and most people can't find it. Let's go there together. The older disciple said. Xu Yufan shook his head. Now I'm afraid Long Wenji sent someone to watch me, it's not appropriate to act now, wait until night. The older disciples did not object. The two sat down, and the atmosphere was a little awkward for a while. By the way, what's your name? Xu Yufan asked. Brother Xu, my name is Lu Meng. The older disciple said respectfully. What about the other two? Xu Yufan asked again. Junior sister Chen's full name is Chen Hongmei, and the other younger brother is called Wang Er. Lu Meng answered honestly. In this way, the two chattered without saying a word. Night fell. Seeing that it was getting dark outside, Xu Yufan got up and went to the door. Divine sense spread out, and the disciples who were following him had already left. Come on, let's go now, Xu Yufan said to Lu Meng. At the same time, Zhao Xinyu's residence. How did you do it? Xu Yufan found out about Chen Hongmei. Long Wenji's face was livid. Zhao Xinhu panicked when he heard this. Brother Long, I didn't expect Xu Yufan to come out of the mine alive, let alone he knew about Chen Hongmei. Long Wenji glared at Zhao Xinhu angrily. You're trash. A bunch of trash. You can't even handle a woman. Zhao Xinhu low, nodding his head, he said nothing. After being silent for a while, Zhao Xinhu asked in a low voice, Brother Long, then, what should we do now? What should I do? Long Wenji sneered. Since it has been exposed, then you kill Xu Yufan, only the dead will never reveal it. Do you want to go now? Are you going to wait until he returns to the sect? Yes, yes, Zhao Xinhu promised, and immediately turned to open the door. At this moment, he suddenly felt a magic power fluctuation behind him, and then his neck felt cold, and before he could turn his head, he found his head floating in the air. Zhao Xinhu was terrified, his eyes widened, he couldn't believe that senior brother Long would do something behind his back. Looking at the floating head, Long Wenji curled up his mouth and sneered, Junior brother Zhao, only if you die. I can let Master Hu kill Xu Yufan. That guy was able to come out of the mine, and he got enough spirit stones. You go to kill him, but you are still dying. You might as well be a pawn and let the brother take the next step. Quote. After all, Long Wenji kicked Zhao Xinyu's head away, and then swept out of Zhao Xinyu's room. Shu Yufan came to the secret place in Lu Meng's mouth. Wang Er and Chen Hongmei hid it well without being noticed. Shu Yufan didn't talk nonsense with them, and said directly, I have already obtained the token to travel through the formation, and I will leave later, and I will take you out. But you have to remember that after leaving the Beishan Spirit Stone's mine, you are no longer Qian Yuanzong's disciples, but Qian Yuanzong's traitor disciples. From now on, find a place to hide Fang Yin's name, so that you can take care of yourself. Quote. The three nodded in unison. Taking advantage of the three people not paying attention, Shu Yufan attacked them with another attack, knocking them out, except for the newborn baby. Shu Yufan uses divine sense to lock the three big ones and one small one, and send them into the world. Then he followed in and asked Vajra to take care of them. From the great world, Shu Yufan didn't dare to delay for a moment. Taking advantage of the darkness, he rushed towards the gate of the Spirit Stone's mine in Beishan. After a while, we arrived at the entrance. Shu Yufan took out the token from the storage bag, output magic power, and threw it into the air. Suddenly, a burst of light flashed in the void, and then a portal was formed. The portal slowly opened, and Shu Yufan stepped out. It's just that Shu Yufan didn't notice that when he stepped out of the formation portal, a wisp of colorless and odorless gas shot out of the token and shot at him. After leaving the Beishan Spirit Stone's mine, Shu Yufan kept walking, turned his magic power, and wrapped himself in the direction of Qian Yuanzong at a very high speed, before disappearing into the night in the blink of an eye. Just when Shu Yufan opened the gate of formation, Long Wenji, who was practicing on the bed, suddenly opened his eyes and said to himself, I've been waiting for you for a long time, and now I'm leaving. I really have patience. After all, Long Wenji stopped practicing, got off the bed, left the house, and went straight to Hu Bo's bedroom. Uncle Hu, are you in there? Coming outside Hu Bo's bedroom door, Long Wenji shouted respectfully. It's nephew Long, what do you want me for? Hu Bo's voice came from the room. Uncle Hu, this disciple has an urgent matter to report to you. Long Wenji said in a deep voice. Master nephew Long, come in. Long Wenji's words were picked up without the slightest pause in the room. As soon as the voice fell, the door automatically opened to both sides. Seeing this, Long Wenji raised his foot and walked in. Entering the room, Hu Bo sat at the table. Nephew Long, if there is something urgent, please tell me. Hu Bo also didn't signal Long Wenji to sit down. The meaning was obvious, speak quickly if you have something to say, fart quickly if you have something to say, and get out of here, don't bother me here. Long Wenji naturally understood it in his heart, but he still pretended not to notice it, and pulled a chair to sit down. Hu Bo frowned, but said nothing. As soon as Long Wenji sat down on the chair, he said, Uncle Hu, something is wrong, junior brother Zhao Xinhu died, it was junior brother Shu Yufan who did it. What? Zhao Xinhu is dead. Hu Bo was taken aback when he heard this, and then frowned. This is how the same thing. Junior brother Zhao has a clue in the hands of junior brother Shu. In the evening, junior brother Zhao asked junior brother Shu to meet. Just now I happened to discuss something with junior brother Zhao, and when I went to his bedroom, I found that he was dead. As for junior brother Shu just now, he left the Spirit Stones mountain in Beishan with a big mouth. Quote. Long Wenji's words were not long, but they were clear and he spoke the key points. After Hu Bo listened, he remained silent. He understood what he said, without any evidence at all, he just said that Shu Yufan killed Zhao Xinhu. This Long Wenji clearly wanted to use his hand to kill Shu Yufan. Nephew Long, since Shu Yufan has left here, we will report this matter to the sect and let the sect send someone to handle it. I still have the task assigned by sect, so I don't have time to catch Shu Yufan. Quote. Huber, what Hu Bo meant was that I still have tasks on my body, and I have no time to take care of Shu Yufan for the time being. One sentence blocked Long Wenji's words. However, what Hu Bo said was true and reasonable, making it impossible for Long Wenji to refute. After pondering for a while, Long Wenji gritted his teeth and said, Uncle Hu, it's not that my nephew wants to trouble you. This matter is related to the uncle and nephew, it is no small matter. Quote. Hu Bo raised his eyebrows, and said coldly, didn't Zhao Xinhu die? What does this matter have to do with me? Long Wenji saw that Hubo was about to get angry, but he was not afraid. He calmly poured himself a cup of spiritual tea and took a sip. Master Hu, do you know what is the standard for mining disciples in the Baishan Spirit Stones mine? Didn't sect set the rules a long time ago? Every 3 months the mining disciples hand in 3,000 low-grade spirit stones. Do you really think me, a cultivator of the Qianyuanzong Foundation establishment period, is an idiot who only knows about cultivation? Quote. Hubo's tone became even more hostile. Long Wenji smiled. Yes, the rule set by sect is 3,000 low-grade spirit stones, but Baishan Spirit Stones mine is self-made. Since last year, it has been 4,000 yuan for the lower-tier spirit stones. Quote. Have you raised the standard of spirit stones? Hubo stared, obviously extremely shocked. This practice is a violation of sect's ban, and letting sect's senior management know is not enough. Long Wenji nodded and said, that's right, I raised the standard by 1,000 yuan for the lower-tier spirit stones. Uncle Hu knows in his heart that the Baishan Spirit Stones mine has just been discovered for a few years, and these 2 years are the peak period of spirit stones mining. Don't take the opportunity to increase mining efforts, it is really a waste. Quote. How dare you ignore the sect regulations? Hubo yelled angrily. Long Wenji's face also sank, and his tone was cold and authentic. Uncle Hu, I don't ignore sect regulations, how can spirit stones respect you? The previous respect is completely gone. What do you mean? Huba Zhou's movement technique surged. Glare. HMPH, what do you mean? Long Wenji snorted coldly, cast a disdainful glance at Hubo, and said in a contemptuous tone, Uncle Hu, to tell you the truth, I didn't hand over the raised standard of 1,000 spirit stones to sect. Still submit according to the original standard of 3,000 spirit stones per person every 3 months. All the spirit stones that were deducted came to me. Oh, I forgot, and every time Uncle Hu comes, I will honor you with those spirit stones. Quote. Hubo was startled for a moment, then his face turned red, and he stared at Long Wenji with gloomy eyes. Are you blackmailing me? Long Wenji chuckled. How dare I be so disrespectful to my uncle? Uncle Master, do you know why there are so many mining disciples in the Baishan Spirit Stones mine? Quote. Hubo frowned, and he also wondered that there were not many mining disciples in the other spirit stones mines, and even those large spirit stones mines only had 30 or 40 people. There are more than 100 mining disciples in the Baishan Spirit Stones mine, which is really rare. Hubo couldn't figure out what the reason was. Seeing Hubo's puzzled expression, Long Wenji smiled slightly. Thinking about Master Uncle, I don't know. If you know the reason, the nephew will tell you. Since I took charge of the North Mountain Spirit Stones mine, no one has left. Whether it was the outer sect disciples sent by the sect, the inner disciples, or the rogue cultivators recruited from the outside, none of them left, not a single one. Quote. Hubo's face was gloomy and he didn't answer. Do you know what this means? Long Wenji no longer regarded Hubo as an elder at all, and his tone was very respectful. Hubo tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart. He wanted to know what Long Wenji was plotting. Let me tell you, Uncle Hu, this means that the spirit stones I withheld will not be passed on, and sect will not know. No one knows the spirit stones I honor you with. But, now Shu Yufan is gone, he left the spirit stones mine in Baishan. Although he killed Zhao Xinhu, if he reported to sect that I withheld spirit stones, sect would not only punish him, but even reward him. At that time, I will definitely be tortured, and as my accomplice, uncle, you will naturally not be able to escape the end of death. Quote. Long Wenji spoke passionately and directly referred to Hubo as his own party. Hubo's face turned pale when he heard the words. Long Wenji, don't talk nonsense, I just took some benefits from you, how can I be your accomplice? I didn't know anything about what was going on at the Spirit Stones mine in North Mountain. Quote. Do you think sect will believe what you say? Long Wenji asked with a sneer. Hubo choked suddenly, he knew in his heart that Long Wenji was telling the truth. What Long Wenji said was not wrong. Sect wouldn't believe what he said. Since he took Long Wenji's spirit stones, he has been stuck in it. In other words, Long Wenji had calculated him into it long ago. Good, good, good. Hubo laughed back angrily, and said 3 good words in succession. In this case, then I will kill you first, and then go back to Qianyuanzong to give an explanation to the head. A stern look flashed in Hu Bo's eyes, and he stretched out his right hand to the storage bag, intending to use his own flying sword to kill Long Wenji. Long Wenji raised his hand and slapped a Vajra talisman on his body, and shouted loudly, "Uncle Hu, it's useless for you to kill me. It's better to think about how to deal with people who can leak information. I'm in the same boat as you, are you sure you want to do this?" Quote. As soon as this sentence was said, Hu Bo abruptly stopped the attacking flying sword. He stared at Long Wenji fiercely. How to solve it? What Long Wenji said was right, killing him really wouldn't change anything. It's very simple. There are not many management disciples in the entire Beishan mine, and there are only a dozen or so. These are all my people, and they often take my spirit stones. They can be regarded as grasshoppers on a rope, so naturally they won't say it. And those mining disciples will be directly killed by the rogue cultivators in the future. As for the outer sect disciples of Qianyuanzong, they can also find a reason to kill them when they have not turned in enough spirit stones. The most troublesome thing is Shu Yufan. He has already left here, so he must be intercepted and killed before he reaches Qianyuanzong. Quote. Long Wenji stated the plan in his heart in detail, and did not hide it at all. Hu Bo was silent. Seeing Hu Bo's hesitation, Long Wenji said again, "Shu Yufan has offended many people, and no one will speak for him after he dies. He has left not long now, and with Uncle Hu's flying magical item, it is possible to catch up with him in a short time. As long as Uncle Hu kills Shu Yufan, the nephew is willing to give you the spirit stones that have been embezzled this year as a reward." Quote. Hearing this, greed clearly flashed across Hu Bo's eyes. After a moment of silence, Hu Bo said, "Are you really willing to share half of the deducted spirit stones with me?" If what Long Wenji said is true, then he withheld hundreds of thousands of spirit stones a year. Give half of it to yourself, and there are more than 100 or 200,000. Although Hu Bo was a cultivator during the foundation establishment period, how could he not be moved by such a large amount of wealth? Long Wenji smiled and said, "Of course it's true, my uncle and I are on the boat. As long as Shu Yufan dies, we can sit back and relax. It is only natural to give half to the uncle." Quote. Hu Bo was so moved that he couldn't help it, the other party gave too much. With a fierce light in his eyes, he stared at Long Wenji and said, "Okay. Then I will kill Shu Yufan, but I want you to promise me two things. Uncle Master, just say what you want, as long as I can do it, I will never refuse." Long Wenji answered, "Yes, as long as Shu Yufan is killed, everything is negotiable." Very good. Hu Bo nodded in satisfaction and continued, "First, you must ensure that I kill the spirit stones that Shu Yufan gave me half of." "It's no problem, I can give it to my uncle right now." Long Wenji agreed without hesitation. Saying that, he took out a storage bag from his arms. "Master, there are 2,000 middle-grade spirit stones in it, which is 200,000 low-grade spirit stones, which are the spirit stones I have withheld over the past year. If you don't believe me, you can check it carefully." Quote. Hu Bo stretched out his right hand and took the storage bag in Long Wenji's palm in his hand. Divine Sense glanced into the storage bag. Soon, a dazzling smile appeared on his face. Inside the storage bag is a pile of spirit stones that look like a hill. Not to mention whether there are 2,000 mid-level spirit stones, at least 1,078 definitely have them. No need to count, I believe you will give me less. Hu Bo couldn't wait to put Long Wenji's storage bag into his arms. I was afraid that Long Wenji would take it back later. He, the first matter has already satisfied you, Mr. Hu, so please tell me about the second matter, Mr. Hu. Long Wenji smiled with satisfaction. Hu Bo took his spirit stones, that is to say, he fell into his own hands, and then he had another dog by his side. Secondly, it's very simple. You must ensure that all the rogue cultivators who know about this are dealt with, as well as those outer sect mining disciples. Hu Bo's eyes were full of murderous intent. He is not a fool, he knows in his heart how big a threat this is to own, so he must get rid of them as soon as possible. Uncle Hu, don't worry, I will do this without your telling me. Don't worry, I have already arranged everything. As long as Shu Yufan dies, no one will know what happened here. Quote. Long Wenji looked confident, he had already prepared for this matter. Hubo nodded slightly upon hearing this. Since that's the case, let's go and solve the only trouble now. Long Wenji was taken aback, and asked, does Uncle Master mean to chase and kill Shu Yufan now? Why, if you don't go now, do you want to stay until dawn? Hubo stared. Solve it early and rest easy, and there will be tasks assigned by your master after the matter is over. Hey, the task my master gave me. Long Wenji said in surprise, what is it? You'll find out when the time comes. Let's go. With a twitch in Bo's heart, the magic power rolled up, leading Long Wenji out of the luxurious manor, and flew towards the entrance of the Spirit Stones mine in Beishan. Not far from the Spirit Stones mine in Beishan, Shu Yufan let Vajra out. Shu Yufan, the three of Lu Meng, asked Jerry to take care of them. Shu Yufan is confident enough in the power of his own soul, and the three of Lu Meng will never wake up so soon in a short time. As for the newborn baby, Shu Yufan was holding it by himself. After all, Jerry is a little mouse with a childlike innocence, and it would be serious if he accidentally hurt it. Gold Pharmacist, it's up to you, run with all your strength, in the direction of Qianyuanzong. Shu Yufan patted Vajra's shoulder. Shu Yufan is not a fool. Long Wenji let him leave so easily, there must be other backers. For the sake of safety, it is safer to hurry back to Qianyuanzong. Vajra roared up to the sky, hammered his chest with both arms a few times, his speed doubled immediately, turned into a streamer, and rushed towards the northeast direction with extreme speed. Along the way, all the demonic beasts that Vajra encountered avoided them far away, even daring not to run away. Running continuously for half an hour, Vajra came to a deep forest with Shu Yufan on his back. Let's rest here for a while seriously, Shu Yufan asked. Vajra nodded without hesitation. All right, I'm a little tired, stop and rest for a while, and recover some magic power. Shu Yufan was holding the baby and was about to get off the ground when he suddenly felt a throbbing in his heart, and a dangerous breath came to his heart. Vajra, go, I think we're being targeted, Shu Yufan shouted to Vajra with a solemn face. At the same time, fully deploy divine sense. Hearing this, Vajra was startled, and without taking a rest, holding two high-grade spirit stones in his hand, he ran wildly again. At this time, Hubo was stepping on a wide flying sword, with Long Wenji standing behind him. Uncle Hu, that kid seems to have sent us a message, and he started up again, much faster than before. Long Wenji frowned and said, why, are you afraid of being lost? Didn't you leave a ray of spirit on him? Huber asked. I don't want to lose it, I'm just afraid that something will happen if time drags on for a long time. Long Wenji explained. HMPH, dare to compare my speed with me during the little chi refining period, it's just courting death. Hubo gave a cold snort of disdain, and Zhou's movement technique rolled, and the speed of the flying sword under his feet increased sharply. The feeling of heart palpitations that Shu Yufan felt at the weekend faded away, but after a while the intense heart palpitations returned. Shu Yufan knew that the other party must have drawn closer to him. It seems that someone has put something like tracking powder on me. Shu Yufan muttered. Then what to do? Vajra asked. Shu Yufan thought for a while, find a place to put Lu Meng and the others down first, and then we will find out who is chasing and killing us. It is good. Vajra nodded and continued running forward. After walking for a while, they came to a valley. Here it is. Shu Yufan told Vajra to stop, and then pulled out Lu Meng, Wang and Chen Hongmei from the Great Thousand World to wake them up. All three of them were in a daze, not knowing what was going on. It's too late to explain to you, now you are far away from the Spirit Stones mine in Beishan, you find a place to settle down by yourself. Remember, don't let the people of Qianyuanzong find out, otherwise you will know what will happen. Quote. As Shu Yufan said, he returned the baby to Chen Hongmei, then took out a storage bag and threw it to the three of them. There are 100 mid-grade spirit stones in here, the three of you take them. After speaking, Shu Yufan jumped on Vajra's back. Change direction, Jin. Vajra responded, charged up all his strength, and jumped violently. Benefactor, today's kindness, we will engrave it in our hearts. Lu Meng, Wang and Chen Hongmei quickly knelt down and kowtowed, expressing gratitude. In the blink of an eye, Shu Yufan and Vajra disappeared into the night. Uncle Hu, that kid changed the direction, you go a little north. Long Wenji, standing behind the broadsword, reported Shu Yufan's position in time. Hey, this kid can't escape. Hu Qingsong sneered. The people behind are getting closer. Xiao Jin, can you hurry up? Shu Yufan cursed, and then asked Vajra. Boss, I can't do it, this is my fastest speed. The other party is so fast, it must be the cultivator of the Foundation establishment period. With my 2 legs, how can I outrun the imperial flight of your human cultivator? Quote. Vajra looked helpless. Foundation establishment period cultivator. Shu Yufan immediately thought of Hu Bo. I didn't expect Hu Bo to belong to Zhou Guangzong. Now I really answered that sentence. They are all mine, what are you fighting with me? Forget it, let's stop and wait for them. Shu Yufan patted Vajra's shoulder and said. What's wrong, you gave up struggling. Vajra jumped a few more times and stopped on a level ground. Shu Yufan rolled his eyes. Let your sister go, let you stop to recover some energy, and wait to fight against the cultivator in the Foundation establishment period. Vajra, dare to use it as labor. Xiao Jin, it's going to be a big battle, you have to work harder and kill the opponent, I'll find you spiritual herb seeds. Shu Yufan drew a big pie. Although you can't see or touch it now, Vajra is very useful. Boss, don't worry, I'll wring his neck off later. Shu Yufan nodded in satisfaction. This brother can do it, he can do it. Divine sense spread out, searching for the cultivator that was chasing after it, but it didn't sense it. But the palpitations in my heart are getting stronger and stronger. Shu Yufan knew that the other party hadn't entered the range of own divine sense yet, but the distance was closer. Xiao Jin, that guy is flying fast, and he will be here in half a stick of incense time at most, so hurry up and get ready. Shu Yufan reminded. Well, don't worry, I can handle it. At this moment, Shu Yufan suddenly frowned. Hey, Xiao Jin, wait, I seem to feel a powerful breath. What powerful breath? Vajra looked at Shu Yufan suspiciously. Although it is the demonic beasts of the Foundation establishment period, it does not practice divine sense, and Shu Yufan has practiced controlling the spirit, so the range of perception is far less than that of Shu Yufan. Looks like a Foundation establishment period demonic beasts. Wait a minute, let me take a closer look. As Shu Yufan said, he cast divine sense with all his strength and stretched in one direction. In just a few breaths, Shu Yufan showed a look of surprise on his face. Sure enough, there is a 3-eyed toad crawling 5 miles ahead, I think that is its territory. Vajra looked blank. What does it matter to us? What's the matter? Quote. Shu Yufan pondered for a while, and then smiled. Hey, this is really none of our business, the 3-eyed toad is the Foundation establishment period demonic beasts, and their strength is not weak. Our pursuer is also a cultivator in the Foundation establishment period. I think we can come to watch the fire from the other side and reap the benefits of the fishermen. Quote. Vajra still doesn't understand. What do you mean? The IQ of demonic beasts is really low. Shu Yufan complained in his heart. It's just that we watch the show and let the 3-eyed toad chase and kill our cultivator. Shu Yufan continued to explain. Watching a play, ha. I like it. Vajra grinned. Seeing this, Shu Yufan also laughed along with him. However, Vajra just laughed a few times and asked, but how did the 3-eyed toad get together with the cultivator who chased us down? Shu Yufan's laughter stopped abruptly. I won't call you Xiao Jin or Jin Yaoshi from now on. I'll call you stupid white ape. Looking at Vajra's expression full of curiosity, Shu Yufan explained. A demonic beast with a territory does not want other cultivators or demonic beasts to appear in its own territory. If there are same-rank demonic beasts or cultivators entering its territory, it will inevitably arouse the anger of the territory owner. Regardless of whether the demonic beasts or cultivators are good or evil, the Fief Lord considers them intrusions. So as long as we lead the cultivator chasing us into the territory of the 3-eyed toad, it will definitely be regarded as an intruder by the 3-eyed toad. And we just need to enter the Great Thousand World, wait for them to fight to the death, and then come out to pick up the bargain. So do you understand? Quote. After Shu Yufan explained, he asked Vajra a question. This time Vajra understood and grinned. Hee, I understand, as expected of the boss, he is so sinister. Are you praising me or hurting me? Shu Yufan sneered in his heart, and looked at Vajra speechlessly. Feeling a bit disadvantaged in my heart, Shu Yufan added. You are still the White Ape King, why don't you understand such a simple truth? That, boss, I didn't have any territory before. Shu Yufan, weak chicken and little white ape. Uncle Hu, that kid stopped. It must be that the magic power was consumed too much. Stop and meditate to recover the magic power. Long Wenji felt that the ray of spirit he left on Shu Yufan stopped moving, and he was overjoyed. A kid in the qi refining stage can run so far is quite capable. Hu Bo sighed in admiration. Flying sword pierced the sky, getting closer and closer to Shu Yufan. Shu Yufan at the front let Vajra enter the Great Thousand World, while he restrained his breath and quickly rushed towards the territory of the three-eyed toad. It stopped at the edge of the three-eyed toad's perception, waiting for Hu Bo's arrival. After about a stick of incense, a terrifying aura appeared in Shu Yufan divine sense. Here we come. Sensing carefully, there are two familiar auras, Long Wenji and Hu Bo. It really is Hu Bo. Shu Yufan muttered. When Shu Yufan divine sense detected Hu Bo and Long Wenji, Hu Bo also deployed divine sense and detected Shu Yufan. Hee, that kid is not far ahead, let's go and kill him. Hu Bo stepped on the wide flying sword with a relaxed expression. It seemed that Shu Yufan was dead, and a small lump in his heart was also smoothed out. Long Wenji also showed a smile. Now that he returned to sect, it was easier to talk when he saw Zhou Guangzong. Flying sword took Hu Bo and Long Wenji to a few hundred meters away from Shu Yufan. Hey, there's a three-eyed toad in the foundation establishment stage ahead, and it's not weak. Hu Bo was surprised. Oh, it's just a three-eyed toad in the foundation establishment period. Could Master Hu still be afraid? Long Wenji still smiled. There's nothing to be afraid of, it's just a idiot whose wits are just beginning to develop. You'll deal with Shu Yufan later, and leave the three-eyed toad to me. The third eye of the three-eyed toad is a high-quality material, wait for me to dig it out and refine it into a mid-grade magical item, hee. Quote. Hu Bo laughed twice. Seeing that the two of them were approaching, Shu Yufan didn't dare to stay where he was. With a turn of his magic power, he rushed directly into the territory of the three-eyed toad. In a small swamp not far away, a big toad about 2 meters long and covered in pimples was roaring angrily. As soon as Shu Yufan stepped in, it sensed it. Quack. With a roar, the three-eyed toad jumped out of the swamp. At this time, Hu Bo took Long Wenji to the place where Shu Yufan was before, because the weeds in this area were taller than a person. They were overgrown, so they didn't see Shu Yufan's figure, so they could only lock it with divine sense. That kid really didn't know what to do, and even fled towards the three-eyed toad. Hee, it seems that we don't need to take action. The toad will help us solve it. Hu Bo said with a smile. It would be best if he didn't have to do it himself. After the three-eyed toad ate Shu Yufan, he would kill the three-eyed toad, which was really quick and easy. The three-eyed toad was extremely fast, its 4 feet touched the ground, its hind legs continued to exert strength, and its body jumped high again, jumping towards Shu Yufan. Seeing this huge toad, Shu Yufan's heart was pounding. Grandma is a bear, what a big toad. In midair, the three-eyed toad opened its mouth, and a scarlet tongue several meters long rolled straight towards Shu Yufan. It was too late to say that. Shu Yufan slapped the storage bag. A freezing talisman with his left hand hit the three-eyed toad, and a wooden shield talisman with his right hand hit his body. The speed is as fast as lightning. During the flight, the freezing talisman turned into snowflakes, sweeping across the red tongue of the three-eyed toad. In the blink of an eye, snowflakes covered the tongue of the three-eyed toad, forming a thick layer of frost, while the wooden shield talisman emitted red rays of light on Shu Yufan's body, covering Shu Yufan's whole body from top to bottom. The three-eyed toad's tongue was frozen, and its mouth was still wide open. However, within half a breath, there was a crisp sound in the silent night sky. Crack! The ice covering the tongue of the three-eyed toad cracked open. Subsequently, there was a series of click sounds. The sound of ice shattering resounded through the sky, and the ice layer shattered inch by inch, turning into shards and falling into the air. The three-eyed toad directly broke the effect of the freezing talisman. Its tongue was only delayed for a while, and continued to sweep towards Shu Yufan. Shu Yufan took this opportunity to quickly swipe to the side. However, the scarlet tongue of the three-eyed toad turned 180 degrees and slapped Shu Yufan directly. Shu Yufan suddenly felt a powerful coercion pressing down on him, and a death breath enveloped Shu Yufan's heart. The red mask on his body was shattered inch by inch, and the wooden shield amulet had no ability to resist it at all. This three-eyed toad is so powerful. Between the flint and lightning, Shu Yufan slapped his forehead without hesitation. Boom! The dust was flying and the smoke was filling the air, covering the sight of the three-eyed toad. Hubo and Long Wenji over there just flew to the 100-meter mark. Seeing this scene, both of them showed happy smiles. Hee, the breath is gone. He is dead, Hubo said with a smile. His tone was very firm. Master Hu is so predictable. That kid really got killed by the three-eyed toad. It saved us a lot of hands and feet. Quote, Long Wenji patted his ass flatteringly. Although he already regarded Hubo as his own dog's leg in his heart, but after all, he hadn't reached the Foundation establishment period yet, so he still had to bear with it for a while. The dust dispersed, and the three-eyed toad, Hubo, Long Wenji and the beast looked at Shu Yufan's original standing position with 7 eyes. Ah, the three-eyed toad's 3 eyes widened at the same time. What? Hubo frowned. This. Long Wenji opened his mouth wide. The place where Shu Yufan was originally standing was empty. No Shu Yufan, no body, no bones, not even blood. What about Shu Yufan? What about the corpse? Three-eyed toad, Hubo and Long Wenji all showed puzzled eyes. The two of them and the beast were full of question marks. Uncle Hu, could it be? Could it be that the three-eyed toad will smash Shu Yufan into powder with one tongue? Long Wenji asked with some stammer. If the three-eyed toad is really that strong, then he and Hubo may be in danger. Hubo still frowned, remained silent for a while, and shook his head. Impossible, this three-eyed toad is only the strength of the Foundation establishment early stage. It is absolutely impossible to smash Shu Yufan into powder with one tongue. Then, where did Shu Yufan go? Long Wenji asked blankly. Although his scheming is extremely deep, in the end he is only a cultivator in the chi refining stage. Compared with Hubo, a cultivator in the Foundation establishment stage, the gap is not so big. Hearing Long Wenji's question, Hubo almost cursed in his heart. I also want to know where Shu Yufan is. But in order to maintain the image of cultivator during the Foundation establishment period, Hubo still pretended to understand and said, Ah, this kid must have cultivated some kind of cultivation technique to conceal the aura, so he avoided at a critical moment just now, and then used the cultivation technique to escape our divine sense detection. After finishing speaking, he seemed to want to prove that he was right, and added, it must be so. Oh, yes, that's it. Long Wenji looked thoughtful. In the Great Thousand World, Shu Yufan looked at the shattered wooden shield talisman and felt a twinge of fear in his heart. If he patted himself on the forehead late, he might have died on the spot. The demonic beasts in the Foundation establishment period are really scary. Boss, did your trick succeed? Vajra asked enthusiastically. What kind of treacherous scheme is called luring the king into the old man? Shu Yufan cursed. Vajra pouted, looking disdainful. Squeak. Jerry jumped onto Shu Yufan's shoulder with a huge pheasant leg in his arms, and brought the pheasant leg to his mouth. Dage, eat, I baked it. Jerry looked attentive. Hee, Xiaoji is still sensible. Let's eat roast chicken here, and wait for the fight outside to lose both sides before going out. Quote. Shu Yufan raised his hand to take the chicken leg, put it in his mouth and bit down. Why is it burnt? In the outside world, the three-eyed toad didn't care too much when he saw that Shu Yufan had disappeared. With its IQ, it really couldn't think about that much. Quack. With a roar, the three-eyed toad immediately transferred its hatred to Hubo and Long Wenji. This toad is not weak, let's kill him first, and then slowly find that kid. Hubo said to Long Wenji. Well, everything is up to Mr. Hu. Long Wenji didn't have the slightest arrogance from when he was at the Spirit Stones mine in Beishan. Quack. The three-eyed toad roared, and released its scarlet tongue again, rolling towards Hubo and Long Wenji who were stepping on the flying sword. HMPH, you're courting death. As soon as Hubo stepped on the flying sword was radiant, facing the scarlet tongue that the three-eyed toad spit out. Long Wenji tactfully jumped towards the ground. He couldn't participate in the battle between the cultivator in the Foundation establishment period and the demonic beasts in the Foundation establishment period. Boom! The scarlet tongue Shu-Fei swords collided with each other, making a loud noise, and the flying sword fell straight away. Hu Bo was slightly startled, the strength of the three-eyed toad was so strong. Whoosh! The three-eyed toad flicked its mouth, and its scarlet tongue swept towards Hu Bo like a whip. Hu Bo unhurriedly sacrificed a token-shaped magical item body protection, and at the same time squeezed the seal, a water cone spell's attack passed, and the magical item card stood in front of Hu Bo's chest, instantly enlarged, turning into a huge shield, blocking it. At the same time, the water cone technique issued just now has already attacked the tongue of the three-eyed toad. Boom! The three-eyed toad's tongue was directly blocked by the water cone attack, but the water cone attack did not stop, and it directly shot through the three-eyed toad's tongue. Immediately, several blood holes appeared on the scarlet tongue, and bright red blood flowed out from the corner of its mouth. Gah! The three-eyed toad screamed. It never expected that a human could hurt itself. This is simply a great shame. Ow! The three-eyed toad roared angrily, opened its mouth again, and sprayed a stream of foul-smelling saliva directly at Hu Bo. Hu Bo sneered, urging the token in front of him to block it. Puff! A faint halo appeared on the surface of the token, directly blocking the saliva. Hu Bo heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Fortunately he had this token with him, otherwise he would definitely be covered in the saliva of the three-eyed toad. However, just as Hu Bo, breathed a sigh of relief, the light from the token gradually dimmed. Ah, the saliva of the three-eyed toad is actually corrosive. Hu Bo was shocked and quickly took back the token. Seeing that the blow was successful, the three-eyed toad opened its mouth and sprayed out another stream of saliva. Let's see how much saliva you can spray. Hu Bo cursed and quickly backed away. At the same time, with the formula in his hand, water curtains appeared out of thin air, sweeping towards the saliva sprayed out by the three-eyed toad. Boom! The water curtain collided with the saliva of the three-eyed toad. Boom! The water curtain burst, splashing a wave. The saliva sprayed by the three-eyed toad was also dissolved. The three-eyed toad saw that Hu Bo actually broke his own saliva, and was very angry in his heart. But he didn't open his mouth to spit again. The saliva in its mouth is limited and can only be released 2 or 3 times in a short period of time. It has been sprayed twice now, and it is a bit reluctant to spray again. Quack! The three-eyed toad's successive setbacks made it fall into a rage. Looking up to the sky and screaming. The eye on the forehead suddenly closed. Suddenly, a strong breath spread. Nephew Long, be careful, this three-eyed toad is about to use its third eye. Hu Bo reminded Long Wenji who was behind him, and then looked at the three-eyed toad solemnly. I saw that the third eye of the three-eyed toad suddenly opened, and then emitted a dazzling white light. No, this fool is about to use its talent's supernatural power. It is desperately trying to dodge it. Hu Bo turned pale with fright, and quickly dodged to the side. At the same time, he slapped the storage bag, took out the token-shaped magical item again, and sacrificed it. Hu Bo's hands kept moving and changing, forming defensive spells one after another. Seeing Hu Bo's posture, Long Wenji was startled, and hurriedly slapped the storage bag. A palm-sized bead was suspended in the air. Long Wenji activated the magic formula, and the beads immediately formed a defensive magic circle, covering him whole. At the same time, he took out the Vajra talisman and patted it on himself. As soon as the two of them finished doing this, the white light emitted by the three-eyed toad bombarded their positions. Boom! White light soared into the sky, flattening a radius of 100 meters. Cracks spread all over the surrounding ground like spider webs, and the entire forest shook. The token in front of Hu Bo exploded immediately, and was directly blasted into a pile of powder. The defensive spells he produced were like fragile tofu in front of Bai Guang, vulnerable to a single blow. Pong! Hu Bo flew out like a cannonball and landed tens of meters away. Puff! After landing, Hu Bo vomited blood. And the bead sacrificed by Long Wenji was directly destroyed under the white light of the three-eyed toad, and the bead turned into a wisp of green smoke and dissipated. The white light destroyed the bead and hit the Vajra talisman on Long Wenji again. Boom! Long Wenji flew out like a cannonball. Boom! It smashed on a towering ancient tree, broke the ancient tree, and the whole body fell from midair. The talent's supernatural power of the three-eyed toad is so terrifying. Chapter 91. However, the three-eyed toad didn't feel well either. After using the talent's supernatural power, that eye closed and its breath became sluggish. Beast, die. Hubo struggled to stand up, hand seals with both hands. The flying sword that was blown away made a buzzing sound, and killed the three-eyed toad. The three-eyed toad looked at Hubo, his eyes were full of hatred. Quack! The three-eyed toad screamed, and stretched out its scarlet tongue again, rolling towards the flying sword. Boom! The flying sword was blown away, and the three-eyed toad turned around and fled towards the swamp without hesitation. Where to go? Hubo yelled angrily, jumped into the air, and chased after him. The three-eyed toad ran away very quickly, jumping into the swamp in the blink of an eye. HMPH, beast, today I will kill you, toad. Hubo watched the three-eyed toad escape into the swamp, snorted coldly, and jumped into the swamp. Seeing that there was nowhere to escape, the three-eyed toad had no choice but to turn around and fight, but at this time it had reached the point where its fuel was exhausted, its speed and strength dropped sharply, and it was no match for Hubo at all. I saw Hubo making formulas with both hands, and various spells bombarded the three-eyed toad. The flying sword that was blown away has also flown back, slashing down continuously. Bang bang bang. A series of attacks continued to hit the three-eyed toad. Quack! The three-eyed toad let out an angry and unwilling roar. Its skin was riddled with holes from Hubo's bombardment. Blood flowed. Although it is a demonic beast of the Foundation establishment period, its skin and flesh are relatively thick, but it cannot withstand such frequent attacks. Die to me. Hubo controlled the flying sword and slashed at the neck of the three-eyed toad. This mid-level magical item directly chopped off the head of the three-eyed toad, and the blood flowed wildly. After the three-eyed toad had its head cut off, it immediately stopped roaring and struggling. Its huge body slowly collapsed, lying powerlessly in the swamp. After killing the three-eyed toad, the tense expression on Hubo's face immediately relaxed. He was just about to dig out the third eye of the three-eyed toad. Suddenly, a strong wind and force swept from behind, and he quickly moved sideways, while offering a shield to protect his body. But this huge force still shattered the shield and hit his chest, causing him to fly upside down tens of meters away. Hubo fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. The power of this palm is too strong. If it were Long Wenji, I'm afraid. It was instantly killed. Plop! Hubo fell heavily into the swamp, splashing a burst of water. Cough cough cough. Hubo coughed a few times, spurted out a few mouthfuls of blood. He stood up unsteadily, and looked up at the position where he was standing just now. I saw a tall white body standing there. This body is about 3 meters high, with white hair all over its body. It is the White Ape King. Vajra. You dare to attack me? Hubo cursed. However, as soon as the words came out, his face changed drastically. He sensed the strength of the white ape in front of him. You turned out to be the demonic beasts of the Foundation establishment period. Hubo was horrified. He never expected that a Foundation establishment period demonic beast suddenly appeared in front of him, and its momentum was almost the same as the three-eyed toad just now. What frightened him was that since he stepped into this area, he didn't feel that there was a second Foundation establishment period demonic beasts. Hee, Uncle Hu, it's just a Foundation establishment demonic beasts, why are you surprised? Shu Yufan's voice came from behind Vajra, and then came out from behind Vajra. You really didn't die. Hubo had an unbelievable expression on his face. You were able to hide from my divine sense. Shu Yufan smiled lightly. Uncle Hu, this is just a little secret technique of the junior, don't be surprised. Humph. Hubo snorted coldly. Mystery. What kind of secret technique can escape the detection of own divine sense? Looking at Shu Yufan and Vajra, Hubo's eyeballs rolled and his thoughts turned. Foundation establishment period demonic beasts, the secret technique of concealing breath, three-eyed toad. When the three were connected, Huber immediately understood. It turned out that all of this was Shu Yufan's calculation. He led himself and Long Wenji to the territory of the three-eyed toad, aroused the hatred of the three-eyed toad, and then used secret techniques to hide with the White Ape King. Let yourself fight the three-eyed toad. Wait until he and the three-eyed toad are both injured before coming out to clean up the mess. So scheming, so calculating. Hubo sighed in his heart. All this is the plan of this kid in front of him. At first, I laughed at Shu Yufan for not knowing how to live or die, thinking that the three-eyed toad would kill Shu Yufan. I just waited to get rid of the three-eyed toad, but I didn't expect Shu Yufan to do it. He and Long Wenji foolishly sneaked in. It turned out that the clown turned out to be himself. I didn't expect you to have such a scheming at such a young age. Where? Quote. Hu Bo looked at Shu Yufan with a complicated expression. Hey, uncle thought you were on the 5th floor and I was on the 1st floor. The fact is that my master is on the 5th floor, and I am on the 99th floor. Quote. Shu Yufan chuckled lightly. Although Hu Bo couldn't understand it, he could tell from the tone of his voice that it was mocking him. Martial nephew, do you think that you will win if I fall into your game? Hu Bo said coldly. Hee, what do you think, uncle? Shu Yufan asked back. In the immortal world, any conspiracy is no match for absolute strength. I admit that you are very scheming, but do you think you can kill me with a white ape from the foundation establishment stage and an ant from your chi refining stage? It is simply wishful thinking. Quote. Hu Bo's tone was full of disdain. He made a formula with one hand, and his flying sword came to him with a humming sound. I can kill the three-eyed toad, and I can also kill this beast. Before Shu Yufan could speak, Vajra got angry. You're the beast, your whole family are beasts. Vajra yelled. Obviously Hu Bo's word, animal, hurt its heart. As soon as Vajra opened his mouth, Hu Bo's face became even uglier. A demonic beasts from the foundation establishment period who could speak, this is definitely a blood abnormality. What's the use of being brave? Let's see how I kill you. Hu Bo slapped the storage bag, and an ice pick amulet flew out, hitting Vajra directly. At the same time, as soon as the formula in his hand changed, the flying sword immediately became bigger. Without the slightest hesitation, Hu Bo jumped onto the flying sword. Flying sword made a 180-degree turn in midair, turned into a ray of light and fled away. Vajra raised his hand and slapped away dozens of ice picks, but saw that Hu Bo had already fled. What? This? Shu Yufan and Vajra looked at each other in blank dismay. Wasn't the call just now quite fierce? Why did you just run away? You coward, Vajra cursed. Shu Yufan came to his senses and immediately shouted, Xiao Jin, hurry up, chase him and kill him, absolutely don't let him escape. After all, he took out 3 quick-step symbols from the storage bag and patted them on Vajra. Boss, don't worry, that guy doesn't have much magic power left, he can't escape. Vajra stamped his feet on the ground, his body flickered, and he rushed towards the direction where flying sword disappeared. Originally, Vajra's speed was not slow, but with the blessing of the quick-step talisman, Hu Bo, who was on the flying sword, was not too slow. In the blink of an eye, Vajra also disappeared into the night. Shu Yufan watched Vajra chase after him, but he didn't make any move. He turned his head to look at the head of the three-eyed toad. The eye on the forehead was closed. Ah, this is a good material, you can't miss it. With a grunt, Shu Yufan jumped to the side of the three-eyed toad's head, raised his hand and shot out a sword light. Clang! When the sword light landed on Toad's head, there was a crisp sound, but it didn't break. I'm going, it's so hard. Looking at the shallow mark on the head, Shu Yufan frowned and muttered. At this moment, Shu Yufan felt a strong sound of breaking through the air from the side. Boom! Without even thinking about it, Shu Yufan slapped a wooden shield amulet on his body. A white sword glow hit the red shield, making a loud noise. The wooden shield talisman easily blocked this sinister blow. Shu Yufan turned his head to look at the owner who emitted the white sword light. Senior Brother Long, this is not kind. There is no one who treats his fellow disciples like this. Shu Yufan said with a smile. It was Long Wenji who was injured by the three-eyed toad who attacked Shu Yufan. When Long Wenji heard Shu Yufan's words, he was not angry, but just like Shu Yufan, smiling all over his face. Hee, the younger brother's reaction is quite fast, and he is indeed an outstanding disciple of Qianyuanzong. Senior brother's ability to open his eyes and tell lies is becoming more and more perfect. I am obviously a little transparent, but in the mouth of senior brother, I have become an outstanding disciple. Shu Yufan said with a smile. Long Wenji was ridiculed by Shu Yufan, but he was not angry, and continued, I was able to escape safely from the pursuit of Master Hu, and even played a trick on Master Hu, saying that I am a little transparent. My brother is really humble. Shu Yufan raised his eyebrows. You, not wanting face, obviously you and Hu Bo chased me down together, but now it's Master Hu chasing me down alone. Senior brother, why don't you continue to lie there and continue pretending to be dead? Compared to your current appearance, I prefer senior brother lying there motionless like a dead dog. Long Wenji heard the words, the corners of his mouth kept twitching. He cursed secretly in his heart. This trash is too rampant, you will know what cruelty is later. Seeing Long Wenji like this, Shu Yufan felt great. Daddy just likes to see you hate. You don't want to stab me to death, but you don't dare to do it. It felt so good. Although Long Wenji was about to explode with anger, he still kept smiling. Hee, junior brother's words are really nice. If your roots are half as powerful as your mouth, you will definitely have a bright future on your way to immortality. No matter how powerful the junior brother's mouth is, it is not as good as the senior brother's method of pretending to be dead. To be honest, you are lying there motionless, you really look like a dead dog. Long Wenji, brother, a cultivation base like you is always being bullied in sect. Shu Yufan, brother, you really look like a dead dog. Long Wenji, junior brother, you must have been worried to death when you ran away just now. Shu Yufan, brother, you really look like a dead dog. Long Wenji, junior brother, can you not say dead dog? Well, senior brother, you look like a dog lying motionless. All of a sudden, the tense atmosphere became weird. Cough. Junior brother, we have some misunderstandings about this matter, and it was not my intention to chase you down. Long Wenji looked embarrassed and tried to change the subject. Well, senior brother, I know, you really look like, sorry, it's a bit smooth. The corner of Long Wenji's mouth twitched. This conversation cannot continue. If I go on, I will really become a dead dog. Long Wenji settled down and calmed down his restless mood. Junior brother, the matter of chasing and killing you was all planned by Mr. Hu. I don't know it at all. How about this? You go to Master Hu and ask for a word, I'll go back to my Bashan spirit stone's mine. Regardless of the outcome between you and Uncle Hu, I don't know. What do you think? Quote, after all, he showed an innocent expression. Well, I also think this matter has nothing to do with the senior brother, everything is according to the senior brother. Shu Yufan nodded, with an expression of approval for Long Wenji. Hee, okay, then go away separately. Long Wenji smiled heartily and stared at Shu Yufan. Well, let's go away. Shu Yufan also stared at Long Wenji. The two looked at each other for dozens of breaths, and both understood what the other was thinking. Why don't we turn around and leave together? Shu Yufan and Long Wenji spoke together. Okay, both of them laughed and turned around at the same time. However, the two of them turned halfway, and suddenly turned back sharply, holding an attack talisman in each hand, and sacrificed it directly towards the other party. Two dazzling rays of light soared into the sky, and then collided with each other. Boom! There was a loud noise, and Shu Yufan and Long Wenji all cast out the explosion talisman, and the flames that filled the sky immediately exploded. The huge impact blows the nearby grass and trees flying around. Shu Yufan and Long Wenji were each pushed back more than 10 meters. Shu Yufan had a wooden shield amulet on his body. Although he was knocked back by the shock, he was not injured. And Long Wenji didn't know when he sacrificed a bead to cover it, but he was also not hurt. However, the explosion talisman sacrificed by Shu Yufan is obviously better than the explosion talisman sacrificed by Long Wenji. The bead that Long Wenji sacrificed was a magical item, while the one that Shu Yufan slapped on his body was a wooden shield amulet, and the defensive power of the two was very different. But the strength of the two being knocked back was equal, which also proved that Shu Yufan's explosion talisman was stronger. Senior brother, let's not talk about martial arts here. We agreed to leave each other, but suddenly made a sneak attack, and we would do a backstab. Junior brother really looks at you with admiration. Shu Yufan sneered with a smile. It's not the same for each other, junior and junior. If Master hadn't given me 2 defensive beads, I'm afraid I would have been incinerated into coals by the explosion talisman just now. Quote. Long Wenji said, oh, senior brother has quite a few defensive beads. Shu Yufan laughed. That's natural, Long Wenji said proudly. I just don't know if there are more of my explosive talismans. Shu Yufan took out 7 or 8 explosive talismans from the storage bag and held them in his hand. Seeing this, Long Wenji's expression changed drastically. This is too not wanting face. HMPH, Junior Brother Shu, don't talk nonsense. I won't hide it from you anymore. To tell you the truth, this time I came here to take your life. Quote. Was it Zhou Guangzong or Cheng Kui who ordered you? Shu Yufan sneered. No matter who ordered it, I will take your life this time. Long Wenji's eyes burst out with intense murderous intent. Then try it, it's not certain who will live and who will die. Shu Yufan snorted coldly. Demonic beasts in the Foundation establishment period have already gone after Uncle Hu, and you only have the cultivation base on the 7th floor of Qi refining. And I have already reached the peak of the 10th level of Qi refining. 2 floors away, why do you fight with me? Quote. Oh, really? Shu Yufan's eyes narrowed slightly, the corners of his mouth were drawn into a curve, and a sly look flashed in his eyes. Are you so sure that I am the 7th level of Qi refining? Seeing Shu Yufan's expression, Long Wenji's heart skipped a beat. Think of Shu Yufan's various deeds. I dug up 12 pieces of top-grade spirit stones in 1 year, followed by the demonic beasts of the Foundation establishment period and the hidden breath just now. All of this reveals Shu Yufan's abnormality. Did you hide the cultivation base? Long Wenji asked tentatively. Yes, you were right, I did hide the cultivation base. Shu Yufan nodded, and then roared. Stop pretending, it's a showdown. In fact, I am indeed the 7th floor of the Qi refining stage. Quote. Long Wenji was stunned when he heard this, and didn't react for a while. Taking advantage of Long Wenji's stunned moment, Shu Yufan punched out all the explosive talismans in his hand. The explosion talisman emitted waves of heat, which exploded in front of Long Wenji, and the flames danced. Boom! The loud noise shook the entire valley, and smoke and dust were everywhere. In just a split second, the flames had already engulfed Long Wenji, and the huge energy kept rolling. As soon as Shu Yufan Dantian magic power turned, he hurriedly stepped back. With such a powerful force, you have to stay away. Puff, puff, the huge shock wave continued to spread in all directions, leaving deep pits on the ground, and the gravel on the ground was sucked into the air, forming black vortices one after another. The smoke gradually disappeared, and Shu Yufan stood on a huge rock, looking seriously at the center of the explosion talisman. When the flames disappeared and the smoke cleared, not a single blade of grass could be seen in the center of the explosion, leaving only the dark, smoky soil. On the black soil, Long Wenji lay there motionless, the beads that had been floating in front of him had disappeared. At this time, Long Wenji's clothes were in tatters, his whole body was pitch black, and more than half of his flowing long hair was burned by the flames. Ah, is it really a dead dog this time? Looking at lying on the ground, Long Wenji on the screen, Shu Yufan muttered to himself. However, as soon as his words fell, there was a reaction over there. Ah, ah, Long Wenji, who was lying on the ground, yelled and struggled to get up from the ground. The surface of his body is covered with fine scars, some of which are even torn apart, and some places are still emitting green smoke. One can imagine the power of the explosive talisman before. Even Long Wenji, who had defensive beads, couldn't resist it. Can you not say dead dog? Long Wenji was extremely sensitive to the word, dead dog. When he heard this word, he immediately stood up. And the first sentence he got up was to refute Shu Yufan's title of dead dog. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately woke up. Seeing On's appearance, Long Wenji roared angrily. You trash, you actually hurt me like this, and even destroyed my last defense beads. I want to let you die miserable. Quote. Long Wenji looked crazy, he slapped the storage bag, and a mid-level talisman flew out. The middle-level talisman was suspended in front of Long Wenji. He handed the seals with both hands, and began to send magic power towards the middle-level talisman. Seeing this, Shu Yufan's face changed, and he secretly cried out in his heart. This Long Wenji definitely wanted to use the middle-level talisman to kill him with one blow. Fortunately, it takes a certain amount of time to activate the intermediate talisman. As long as Long Wenji kills it before the activation is successful, the crisis can be resolved. Without hesitation, Shu Yufan slapped the storage bag, and the trapped spirit net appeared in his hand. Shu Yufan made the formula with one hand, murmured something, and raised his hand to throw the sleepy spirit net directly at Long Wenji. The sleepy spirit net directly turned into a burst of black light covering Long Wenji from all directions. Seeing the trapped spirit net enveloping him, a look of panic flashed in Long Wenji's eyes. This is the critical moment for him to activate the middle-level talisman, and there is no room for any mistakes. But the speed of this sleepy spirit net was so fast that Long Wenji couldn't resist it at all. Seeing that the black light film was about to completely envelop him, a look of madness flashed in Long Wenji's eyes. Ah! You don't let me live, then I just pull you back together. Quote. After finishing speaking, Long Wenji stretched out his left hand, and slapped Dantian fiercely with his palm. Immediately, a stream of blood mixed with magic power gushed out, and shot directly at the mid-level talisman suspended in the air. Long Wenji is using a special method to speed up the transmission of magic power, in an attempt to activate the intermediate talisman faster. This kind of approach is equivalent to forcing Dantian's magic power out of his mouth directly, which is simply suicide, no different from self-destructing Dantian. As long as it is used once, it is impossible for Dantian to recover, and even if he does not die afterwards, he will become a disabled person. Seeing Long Wenji's desperate attitude, Xu Yufan couldn't help but become very serious. This is too cruel, and he can do it to himself. Xu Yufan did not forget to complain. However, in my heart I thought, no, you must completely trap him before he activates the intermediate talisman. A look of fierceness flashed in Xu Yufan's eyes. He opened his mouth and bit the tip of his tongue, and a stream of blood essence sprayed onto the sleepy spirit net. Immediately, the black light film seemed to be injected with hormones, and the speed of the package doubled. Seeing this scene, Long Wenji's pupils shrank. He knew he was done. I must pull you back. Long Wenji let out a roar, and slapped Dantian with his palm again, and a large amount of magic power mixed with blood sprinkled on the middle-level talisman. The mid-level talisman suspended in the air trembled slightly, and then the light burst into a white halo. This halo immediately transformed into a small mountain about 7 or 8 meters high. Ha ha, I want to drag you to be buried with me. Long Wenji laughed loudly, and yelled at Xu Yufan with a ferocious face. The small mountain peak was extremely fast, rushing out of the range of the black light film before the sleepy spirit net completely wrapped Long Wenji, and rushed into the air. Then it directly smashed down towards Xu Yufan. Xu Yufan's eyes were wide open, and a look of horror appeared on his face. A death breath from the underworld completely enveloped him. Xu Yufan didn't hesitate any longer. He stared and roared. Vajra is not bad. Suddenly, roar! Vajra's body instantly appeared on Xu Yufan's back, and a faint golden light glowed all over his body. As soon as Vajra's body appeared, the magic power in Xu Yufan's body was continuously infused into Vajra's body. In the blink of an eye, the magic power in Xu Yufan Dantian was wiped out by Vajra's body. Vajra's body shrank suddenly, directly submerged into Xu Yufan's body, and merged with Xu Yufan. Immediately, Xu Yufan's skin changed. His skin turned golden yellow like a layer of golden liquid. At the same time, Xu Yufan took out 3 more wooden shield symbols from the storage bag, and quickly slapped them on himself. Although he cast Vajra not bad, but Xu Yufan still felt that it was not safe enough. Although he successfully resisted Lin Weixia's intermediate-level rockfall technique last time, the hill that Long Wenji cast looked more shocking and powerful than the rockfall technique. So just in case, Xu Yufan added a wooden shield symbol. Just as Xu Yufan finished doing this, a small mountain 7 or 8 meters high crashed down. The weight of the small mountain peak is several thousand catties, and the coercion is extremely terrifying. Boom! There was a loud bang. Xu Yufan only felt buzzing in his mind, and his body felt as if struck by lightning. Crack! The 3 wooden shield symbols that formed the red shield on the outermost side were the first to be impacted. 2 of the wooden shield symbols exploded, and the other wooden shield symbol exploded directly, turning into powder all over the sky. The power of the small mountain remained undiminished. Xu Yufan shouted, "Hold on to daddy." Boom! The small mountain hit Xu Yufan's body. There was a loud bang, the ground shook violently, and earth and rocks splashed. The small mountain directly smashed Xu Yufan's whole body into the ground, and most of the entire hill sank into it. The remaining prestige of the small mountain peak did not dissipate, but still spread towards the surroundings. The ground cracked inch by inch, layer by layer of cracks spread towards the distance, spreading all the way to dozens of meters. Crack, clatter. Seeing this, Long Wenji, who was trapped in the spirit net, couldn't help laughing wildly. Ha 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 ha, I really don't know how to live or die. How dare you use your body to resist my heavy mountain talisman? It's just courting death. Ha ha, I want you to die here without even scum. I let you die, let you die. Quote, Long Wenji laughed louder and louder. Just then, a cold voice came, have you laughed enough? The voice was not loud, as if it was blocked by something, but it was clearly transmitted to Long Wenji's ears. What? Hearing this voice, Long Wenji's laughter stopped abruptly, and his expression changed drastically. Staring at the direction of the sound, trying to find the source of the sound. It was under the small mountain that the voice came from. Boom! There was an earth-shattering muffled sound. Immediately afterwards the small mountain began to fall apart. The gravel flew randomly, and the soil shot into the air one after another. Boom! The small mountain peak was directly bombarded from the inside by a huge force, and the entire small mountain peak exploded, turning into powder and floating in midair. A golden figure rises from the ground, and the golden figure slowly walks out of the powder in the sky. This is impossible. Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared, Long Wenji opened his eyes wide, his face was full of disbelief, his heart was full of shock, and he muttered to himself. You're fine. You are safe and sound under my middle-level talisman, heavy mountain talisman, under a single strike. Impossible, impossible. Quote, Long Wenji kept shaking his head. He knew very well how terrifying the power of his mid-level talisman was. Once, he used the heavy mountain talisman to kill 3 rogue cultivators at the 10th level of Qi refining. And Shu Yufan only has the 7th level of Qi refining, so how could he be unscathed? This is absolutely impossible. Long Wenji really couldn't figure it out. Senior brother Long, your heavy mountain technique is really powerful, but in front of me, it's not worth mentioning at all. Shu Yufan smiled contemptuously. At this point the Vajra is not bad, duration is gone. The golden light on Shu Yufan's body has dimmed, and the clothes on his body are torn, revealing his strong body. And lost the control of the magic power, the trapped spirit net turned into a bead and flew back to Shu Yufan's hand. Why do you only have the cultivation base on the 7th level of Qi refining to resist the heavy mountain technique? Long Wenji spat out blood, although sleepy. The spirit net has already released him, but Dantian's damage and blood essence deficit caused by the forced push of the heavy mountain talisman just now have begun to seriously backlash his life. Senior brother Long, I'm really not the 7th level of Qi refining. Shu Yufan laughed. Hearing this sentence, Long Wenji's pupils shrank suddenly, and then began to dim. Shu Yufan didn't do anything. He was also strong outside but capable inside, and the magic power in his body had been exhausted by Vajra is not bad. Even if he wanted to do it, he had to walk there on foot. But Long Wenji is a cultivator after all. If he hit him before dying, wouldn't he die on the spot? In fact, Shu Yufan was thinking too much. At this moment, Long Wenji's breath of life faded rapidly. Not only did he not have any magic power in his body, but he also lost his strength. Even a child can knock him down with a single punch. Long Wenji stared blankly at Shu Yufan. The blood from the corner of his mouth dripped down like a faucet turned on. He didn't want to die, but he couldn't change it. After a dozen or so breaths, Long Wenji's body softened, and he fell to the ground with a thud. His body twitched a few times, and then he stopped moving. Died. Seeing Long Wenji like a dead dog, Shu Yufan frowned slightly. Without magic power in the body, divine sense can't be displayed, only by guessing. Shu Yufan didn't go over immediately, but stood there and waited for half an hour. Seeing that Long Wenji hadn't moved, he raised his foot and walked slowly towards Long Wenji. Shu Yufan knelt down and sniffed Long Wenji. After confirming that Long Wenji was dead, Shu Yufan felt relieved. Reaching out to take Long Wenji's storage ring, he got up and left immediately without checking. Shu Yufan walked hundreds of meters, found a boulder, and hid. After several battles, it may not attract any cultivator or demonic beasts. Now Shu Yufan doesn't have any magic power, even a demonic beasts or cultivator on the 6th or 7th floor of the Qi refining stage can kill him. It's better to be cautious, or to hide. Take out 2 top-grade spirit stones from the storage bag, sit down and meditate on the spot to restore magic power. It didn't take long before a familiar aura came towards this side very quickly. Shu Yufan suddenly opened his eyes with joy. Yes, Vajra is back. Boss, are you dead? After a while, Vajra's voice sounded. Shu Yufan has black lines all over his head. Grass, what are you talking about? Shu Yufan jumped onto the boulder, put his hands on his hips, and roared at Vajra. Ah, I'm concerned about whether the boss is injured. Vajra jumped a few times, approached Shu Yufan, and said naively. Are you talking about people? Is there anyone who cares about people like this? Shu Yufan stared at it angrily. Boss, I'm not human, so what I say is not human. Vajra said quietly. Shu Yufan. Ah, I can't even refute it. Seeing Shu Yufan being so deflated, Vajra laughed. Okay, stop laughing, tell me quickly, have you caught up with Hubo? Shu Yufan asked. Catch up. Vajra nodded. Have you ever done it? Shu Yufan asked again. Vajra nodded again. Done. Died. No struggle. I resisted for a while, but the strength was not strong, so I slapped him to death with 3 slaps. Vajra raised his giant hand. Shu Yufan stared at Vajra suspiciously. So simple. Well, it's that simple. I thought how strong the cultivator was during the Foundation establishment period, but I didn't expect it to be so weak. Human cultivator, not worth mentioning. Quote. Vajra looked disdainful. Just as Shu Yufan was about to nod his head in agreement, he felt something was wrong. Why is Vajra mocking me? The thought was quickly forgotten. Vajra can take down Hubo so easily, not because it is too powerful, nor because Hubo is rubbish. It was because Hubo was injured in the fight with the three-eyed toad, and lost a lot of magical items and talismans, and more than half of the magic power in his body was consumed. In addition, he just wanted to run away, and he didn't have any will to fight desperately. With such a semi-disabled body, he was not bad to fight against the physically powerful Vajra, and he was naturally killed in seconds. That's good. Shu Yufan breathed a sigh of relief. It would be really troublesome if Hubo ran away. After thinking for a while, Shu Yufan asked again, is there any storage bag? Shatter it. Quote. After all, he looked at Vajra expectantly. Boss, don't worry, it was shot, but not broken. Vajra grinned. To kill is to steal, I know that. Vajra looked proud. Hey, little ape, has made progress. Shu Yufan praised. Vajra took out 2 storage bags and handed them to Shu Yufan. Here, boss, this is the storage bag for that weak chicken. Shu Yufan put away the storage bag and walked towards the place where Long Wenji's body lay. Some things were confiscated over there. By the way, you take out the third eye of the three-eyed toad, it's a treasure. Ah, its body is useless, too damaged to be a magical item. Quote. Shu Yufan gave instructions to Vajra while walking. Vajra answered and followed. Shu Yufan found Long Wenji's heavy mountain talisman, and then touched Long Wenji's body for a while, making sure that nothing was missing, then raised his hand and took out a low-level talisman. Fireball and threw it on Long Wenji's body. As soon as the fireball technique touched Long Wenji's body, it immediately burst into flames. Over there, Vajra has also taken out the third eye of the three-eyed toad. Let's go. Shu Yufan jumped on Vajra's back. Roar. With a roar, Vajra leapt high with Shu Yufan on his back, drew a long white mark in the sky, and then fell quickly. When he was about to touch the ground, he kicked his feet and jumped up again with his strength. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the night. Running all the way, after more than an hour, Vajra landed beside a secluded lake with Shu Yufan on his back. Boss, it's over, let's take a break. Vajra breathed heavily. Having experienced the great battle, and running with Shu Yufan for such a long time, Vajra, who is known for his body, couldn't stand it anymore. Most of the magic power in Shu Yufan's body had recovered at this time, and he used his divine sense with all his strength to search the entire area for several miles. Except for a few demonic beasts of the 3rd and 4th layers of gas refining, no other strong beasts were detected. Powerful demonic beasts and cultivators. Feeling relieved, Shu Yufan nodded. Well, rest until dawn. After that, he dragged Vajra into the Great Thousand World. As soon as he entered the Great Thousand World, Shu Yufan could smell the smell of burnt meat. What is the situation? Shu Yufan frowned suspiciously. Vajra sniffed his nose. Ah, it seems that the 3rd child is grilling meat. Sure enough, Jerry jumped over holding a pitch-black drumstick-like object. Squeak. When Shu Yufan saw it, he immediately remembered the chicken leg that Jerry stuffed into his mouth before, more precisely, chicken leg charcoal. There was a headache in my heart. Boss, eat chicken legs. Jerry used his spirit to transmit the voice. Shu Yufan silently took out a bigu pill from the storage bag and stuffed it into his mouth. Xiaoji, I'm full. Jerry turned to Vajra again. Squeak. Second, I like to eat rat meat. Vajra opened a mouthful of sallow, sharp teeth. Jerry shrank his head and threw the chicken leg away. Squeak. Turned around and ran away quickly. Looking at Jerry's back, Shu Yufan asked Vajra, Xiao Jin, what did the third child say? Vajra looked pitifully at the group of pheasants not far away. The third brother said to slaughter another chicken, it will definitely produce perfect chicken legs. Shu Yufan was speechless for a while. Since when did the third child become obsessed with barbecue? Didn't you roast a rabbit last time, after the third child ate it, became obsessed? Vajra shook her head. Shu Yufan was speechless for a while. After a long time, he said quietly, forget it, this great world is a bit boring, and it's good to have some hobbies. Vajra nodded approvingly. Boss, I'm going to take care of the medicine garden. Shu Yufan petrified on the spot. One who loves grilling. A love planter. Go hobbies. After a stick of incense, Shu Yufan silently took out the storage bags of Hubo and Long Wenji. Mouth to himself. Actually, Daddy also has hobbies. After Shu Yufan called out, he sat down on the spot. He first checked Long Wenji's storage bag. Take everything out of it. There are not many types inside, except for some commonly used items, the rest are spirit stones. There are many spirit stones, besides the 12 high-grade spirit stones I handed in, there are nearly hundreds of mid-grade spirit stones. Basically the entire storage bag is spirit stones. I didn't expect Long Wenji to be a corrupt official. Shu Yufan said to himself. The spirit stones I handed in were in Long Wenji's personal storage bag, so I understood what was going on without thinking about it. Shu Yufan fell over for a while, but saw nothing useful. Pushing the spirit stones stack aside without a hint of glee. Sitting on a mountain of top-grade spirit stones, he really doesn't have much interest in such a little spirit stones. A dignified person in charge of the Beishan mine, the head disciple, is so poor that he doesn't even have a single magical item. What a failure. Shu Yufan cursed and threw the storage bag aside. If Long Wenji hadn't died yet, he would probably have been pissed off when he heard this sentence. The talismans and magical items in his storage bag were destroyed in tonight's battle, so there are no good things left. Shu Yufan turned his gaze to Hubo's 2 storage bags, took Hubo's 2 storage bags hopefully, divine sense poked into one of the storage bags. Grandma Bear, it's spirit stones again. Shu Yufan cursed. The first storage bag he checked was the one that Long Wenji used to bribe Hubo, and it was filled with spirit stones. Shu Yufan threw the storage bag containing the spirit stones aside without interest, and then checked the second storage bag. Divine sense reached in and took out everything inside. Suddenly, a small pile piled up in front of Shu Yufan. This is a Hubo-owned storage bag, so there are many things, and it is also very miscellaneous. Shu Yufan simply sorted, put the clothes and some sundries back into the storage bag, and left what he thought was valuable. After such a screening, the things were immediately reduced by 2/3, leaving only a dozen kinds of things. Shu Yufan classified again, will. The dozen items are divided into 2 parts, one part as demonic beasts materials. The other part is the items that Shu Yufan really needs to examine carefully. After removing the demonic beasts materials, there were only 4 items left in front of Shu Yufan, namely a jade box, 2 jade slips, and a small porcelain bottle. Like Long Wenji, there were no magical items and talismans in Hubo's storage bag, and even his flying sword was also missing. It seems that tonight's battle made him give up everything, and he died in the end. Shu Yufan opened the small porcelain bottle first, and a scent of medicine pill immediately wafted out of it. Hey, so it's medicine pill, Shu Yufan said in surprise. He poured out a medicine pill from a small porcelain bottle, put it in the palm of his hand, and looked at it carefully. The medicine pill in the palm of the hand is off-white and has a faint smell of medicinal herbs. The medicine pill is not smooth, you can see it carefully. A tiny particle. This medicine pill is of poor quality. Shu Yufan made a judgment immediately. Compared with the medicine pill that I refined with mysterious medicine cauldron, it is completely different. Shu Yufan squeezed the medicine pill with his hand and handed it to his nose, smelled it, and then looked it up and down again. This medicine pill should be the Yuanbu pill used by the Foundation Establishment cultivator. Shu Yufan has learned from comprehension that there are more medicine pills that can be taken during the Foundation Establishment period than during the Qi refining period. From early stage to late stage, there are several medicine pills available for each stage. And this Buyuan pill is the medicine pill that can be taken in the Foundation Establishment early stage. This bottle of Buyuan pill should be the medicine pill that Hubo himself used for cultivation. Putting the Don't Yuan pill back into the small porcelain bottle, and then put the small porcelain bottle in the storage bag, Shu Yufan set his sights on the jade box. Looking at the appearance of this jade box, it should contain spiritual herbs. Opening the jade box, there was a fiery red spiritual herbs neatly placed inside. The foliage of this spiritual herb is like a blazing flame, exuding bursts of heat that are heart-pounding. This is Huo Yunji. Looking at the spiritual herbs in front of him, Shu Yufan was in awe. He looked carefully again, and finally confirmed that he was right. This is the exercise. Fire Yunji, one of the 9 spiritual herbs needed to make Foundation Establishment Dan. Shu Yufan was ecstatic to pick up Huo Yunji, and looked up, down, left, and right, back and forth. The leaves were intact and the roots were slightly damaged. Haha, this means that this fire versicolor can be planted in the medicine garden. And can guarantee 100% survival. Shu Yufan was overjoyed. He didn't expect to find Huo Yunji in Hubo's storage bag, it was a surprise. With this Huo Yunji plant, I have 3 of the 9 kinds of spiritual herbs, and I am one step closer to refining the Foundation Establishment pill. Excited in Shu Yufan's heart, he carefully put Huo Yunji back into the jade box, thinking of taking it to plant for Vajra later. As soon as I closed the jade box, I felt something was wrong, so I grabbed 2 jade slips on the ground and ran towards the medicine garden. Vajra, who was pulling weeds, saw Shu Yufan approaching with a blushing face, and immediately stopped his hands. "Boss, what are you doing? So excited?" Vajra asked. "Here's a good thing for you." After Shu Yufan said, he handed over the jade box carefully in his hand. "What are you doing? So careful, what kind of baby is it?" Vajra took the jade box carelessly. Just as Shu Yufan was about to remind Vajra to pay attention not to damage the fire versicolor inside, Vajra opened the jade box, and then changed from indifference to extreme care. "Ah, it's spiritual herbs," Vajra exclaimed, like a wolf who had been hungry for 3 days when he saw meat, his eyes sparkled. "This is Huo Yunji, one of the spiritual herbs used to refine the Foundation Establishment pill. Xiao Jin, you plant it together with purple gold vine and silver snake gallbladder. Don't damage the roots, just one plant, if it is broken, it will be gone." Quote. Shu Yufan reminded, "Boss, you don't need to say that I care more about spiritual herbs than you do, so you can rest assured." Vajra pouted. Shu Yufan couldn't deny it. He didn't observe Vajra planting fire versicolor, but sat down beside him, picked up a jade slip and began to check. As soon as Shu Yufan divine sense entered one of the jade slips, he saw the opening words of the jade slip. Buyuan pill. Is this the pill recipe of Buyuan pill? Shu Yufan said in surprise. Then, Shu Yufan continued to read the information on jade slip. After half a stick of incense, Shu Yufan put down the jade slip after studying, with a satisfied expression on his face. This jade slip records the refining method of the Buyuan pill for the cultivator in the Foundation Establishment period. Jade slip records the types and quantities of spiritual herbs needed for Buyuan pill, and carefully marks the refining steps and techniques. This can be described as a complete pill recipe. A total of 5 kinds of spiritual herbs are needed to refine Buyuan pill, 3 of which are relatively easy to find at Juvence. Apart from sect, which is sold, it can also be bought in the market. Not to mention the seeds, which can be bought in basically any spiritual herbs shop. The remaining 2 main herbs, Qianghua and Longyuansao, are even more rare. Although they are also common types of spiritual herbs, they need more than 70 or 80 years of age. Although sect has planted it, he does not sell it to his disciples. Although there are sales in the square market, the demand is too much, and the demand exceeds the supply. It takes a lot of luck to buy Qianghua and Longyuansao that are old enough anyway. However, the seeds of these two main medicines are still easy to buy as long as you can afford spirit stones. For Shu Yufan, with Daqianshiji and Vajra, the gardener of demonic beasts, as long as there are seeds, spiritual herbs are not a problem, and the year is not a problem. Shu Yufan put jade slip away, feeling extremely comfortable. My cultivation base has not yet reached the foundation establishment period, but the medicine pill for the foundation establishment period already has a pill recipe. Haha, I didn't expect to get another pill recipe after getting a fire versicolor. The surprise master who gave me was really not ordinary. Quote, Shu Yufan said to himself with a smile. Today is simply the possession of the Emperor of Europe, one good thing after another. Not only solved two hostile fellow sects, but also got pill recipe and spiritual herbs. Shu Yufan calmed down and looked at the last piece of jade slip. With the previous pill recipe and fire versicolor, Shu Yufan is looking forward to this jade slip even more. Dip divine sense into jade slip. Hey, is this a map? Shu Yufan continued to check the information recorded in jade slip. Go to a place called Blackwater Pool to trade spiritual herbs. Shu Yufan muttered a few words to himself while watching. If necessary, you can kill the opponent and snatch the spiritual herbs. Shu Yufan was a little stunned after watching jade slip. This jade slip is the task jade slip given to Hubo by the leader Zhou Chengqing. The task content is very simple, that is, to trade with the rogue cultivators in the foundation establishment period. According to the description on jade slip, it records a place called Blackwater Pool. Zhou Chengqing made an appointment with that rogue cultivators to trade there. The transaction item is the other party's two strains of spiritual herbs, specifically what spiritual herbs are not recorded above. But seeing Zhou Chengqing's cautious attitude, Shu Yufan guessed that it would definitely not be ordinary spiritual herbs. Zhou Chengqing asked Hubo to go to the Baishan Spirit Stones mine to collect spirit stones for a year, and then go to Haishuiden to trade with the foundation establishment rogue cultivators. And let Hubo must trade two spiritual herbs, and even ordered Hubo, if the other party's asking price is too high, he can directly kill the other party and snatch the spiritual herbs. From the task jade slip, it can be seen that Zhou Chengqing is very concerned about these two spiritual herbs. What spiritual herbs will it be? Shu Yufan put away the jade slip and turned his head to think. But jade slip doesn't have any information on spiritual herbs, even if Shu Yufan is a god, he can't figure it out. Forget it, the cultivator of the foundation establishment period is not something I can mess with, so just pretend that you don't know about it. Shu Yufan shook his head and stood up. He has seen the cruelty of Shu Immortal World, the fellow sects will plot and kill each other, let alone the unfamiliar cultivator. My first task is to raise the cultivation base to the 10th level of Qi refining, and then find the remaining spiritual herbs for refining the foundation establishment pill. This is the real business. Standing by the medicine garden, watching Vajra turn left and right in the medicine garden like a hard-working bee. Turning his head to look at the firewood in the distance, mentioning Jerry when he was about to kill a chicken and roast it, Shu Yufan could only admire the power of his hobbies. Without stopping the weird behavior of the two demonic beasts, Shu Yufan jumped onto the branch of the tree, sat cross-legged, and prepared to practice spirit-controlling Ju. After practicing controlling the spirit for more than a year, the strength of Shu Yufan's divine sense is more than 4 times that of the same rank cultivator, and it is stronger than some foundation establishment stage cultivators. Now it can be regarded as a small achievement realm, and it is only one step away from a large achievement. As usual, Shu Yufan sank into Dantian, calmed down, and began to practice controlling the spirit. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get into the state. The content on that jade slip always pops into my mind. Occasionally, a storage bag will float by, and what is even more terrifying is that there are 2 spiritual herbs in the storage bag. Shu Yufan sighed, the power of hobbies is too powerful. He opened his eyes, jumped off the branch, and came to the medicine garden. Xiao Jin, if Hubo is not injured, the magical item talisman is complete, and the magic power is in a normal state. If you confront him head-on, can you beat him? Shu Yufan asked Vajra. Vajra looked up suspiciously. Seeing Shu Yufan's serious face, not wanting to chat, it pondered for a moment and then said. It's hard to say. If he doesn't have many magical items, few talismans, and the spells he cultivates are not particularly perverted, then I can naturally kill him. If he has too many cards, it's not necessarily true. Quote. Vajra was right on point. People, the cultivator may not be as good as demonic beasts in terms of talent, but it is more creative, varied, endless in means, and highly malleable. Seeing Shu Yufan bowed his head in silence, Vajra asked curiously, Boss, why are you asking this? Isn't Hu Bo dead? Shu Yufan shook his head, did not speak, but moved his head slowly towards other places. Shu Yufan asked Vajra if he could kill Hu Bo, not because he wanted to know Vajra's combat power. Instead, he was going to Blackwater Pool to trade with the Foundation Establishment period rogue cultivators. He had always had a hunch in his heart that the spiritual herbs in the hands of that rogue cultivators were definitely rare spiritual herbs. If not, Zhou Chengqing would not have the attitude of being sure to win. Spiritual herbs are definitely more important to Shu Yufan than magical item or spirit stone's medicine pill. He has a vast world, and with spiritual herbs, there are countless possibilities. That's why Shu Yufan never forgets those two spiritual herbs. But if Shu Yufan was allowed to trade with that rogue cultivators like this, the result would definitely be miserable. Not to mention whether it is possible to trade normally with the other party under the name of Qian Yuanzong. Just because I am a cultivation base in the qi refining stage, the other party will probably give Shu Yufan a slap when they meet, and then kill him and grab the storage bag. Even Zhou Chengqing, the head of the faction, wants to kill people and steal goods, let alone the rogue cultivators. The strength gap is too large, and there is no possibility of considering it at all. Normal transactions don't work, so Shu Yufan thought of appearing with Vajra himself. During the Foundation establishment period, demonic beasts will take over the town, and the other party will be afraid of it, so give it a face. At the very least, they won't come and kill without saying a word. That's why there was the questioning of Vajra just now asking if he could outdo Hu Bo. Zhou Chengqing dared to send only Hu Bo, which also showed that the opponent's strength would not be too strong, at least not stronger than Hu Bo. If Vajra can defeat Hu Bo, he can also defeat the rogue cultivators. In this way, Shu Yufan has enough confidence to go to the Blackwater Pool and trade with that rogue cultivators. But it's a pity that Vajra is not sure, which can't help but make Shu Yufan, who cherishes life very much, feel drummed in his heart. But it is impossible to make Shu Yufan give up. I have to think of a way. I have to hide my identity, and I can't let the other party know that I am a disciple of Qian Yuanzong. Shu Yufan scratched his head, thinking in his heart, and walked into the pill refining room. Several hours later, the sky was already bright, and Shu Yufan ran out of the pill refining room excitedly. In a few steps, we arrived under the big tree. Vajra, who was sitting on a tree branch meditating and absorbing spiritual qi, heard the movement and opened his eyes. Boss, what are you excited about so early in the morning? Vajra asked. Shu Yufan showed a wicked smile. I thought about it all night, and I decided to come to Yin. Boss, do you have a fever? Vajra looked confused, and still didn't understand what Shu Yufan was talking about. I'm going to rob. What? Robbery? Looking at the dazed Vajra, Shu Yufan nodded. Yes, go and rob. After finishing speaking, he explained in detail how Zhou Chengqing asked Hu Bo to trade in Heishuiden. When Vajra heard that there were two spiritual herbs, he was very excited, and wished he could go to the Blackwater Pool to snatch the spiritual herbs back immediately. Jerry, who was lying on the rock to catch up on sleep, was awakened, and jumped over, chirping and chirping to help. Shu Yufan's head was swollen from the noise, so he hurriedly left Great Thousand World, caught more than a dozen fish from the lake outside and sent them to Great Thousand World, and asked Jerry to try grilled fish. Jerry, who had long been tired of grilling chicken legs, saw the new gadget, so he stopped tossing immediately, and ran to the fish weighing a few kilograms on wooden sticks while grilling happily. Shu Yufan was afraid that Jerry would come to torment him after spoiling the fish, so he quickly dug a hole, caught dozens of fat fish from the lake outside and raised them, and then took Vajra away from Great Thousand Worlds. Once outside, Vajra rushed towards the Blackwater Pool with Shu Yufan on his back. There is a map on the task jade slip, so Shu Yufan doesn't have to worry about getting lost, and he can command Vajra to move forward with peace of mind. A day later, Shu Yufan and Vajra arrived near the black water pool. He stopped on a hill a dozen miles away from the purpose of the transaction. Standing on a towering tree, Shu Yufan and Vajra looked towards the direction of the black water pool. But the distance is too far away, and one person and one beast just look lonely. Xiao Jin, you go back to the Great Thousand World and stay, I will explore the way. After watching for a while, Shu Yufan said to Vajra beside him. There is still one day before the agreed time of the transaction, and it is useless to pass now. Boss, don't you want to go to the Great Thousand World and rest for a night? Vajra asked. I'll take the lead, you go to rest. Vajra nodded in agreement. Shu Yufan sent Vajra back to the Great Thousand World, and he cast his divine sense to the limit, covering several miles around. With a light tiptoe, he jumped off the big tree and walked slowly towards the black water pool. About half an hour later, we came to a place less than 1 mile away from the black water pool. Suddenly, Shu Yufan's heart moved, and he caught a slight fluctuation of magic power 2 or 3 miles away. It's the magic power of the human cultivator. Interest. Quote, Shu Yufan was startled, and was about to retreat, but found that the other party had already spotted him. No, that guy must be the rogue cultivators mentioned on the quest jade slip. Shu Yufan yelled inwardly that it was broken. Zhou rolled up his strength, turned around and ran back quickly. The owner of that magic power sensed Shu Yufan's escape, and even chased Shu Yufan at a very fast speed. It's a cultivator during the Foundation establishment period. I didn't expect that rogue cultivators to be so cautious and come to investigate the situation in advance. Shu Yufan cursed in his heart, and at the same time, he used his soul transmission to tell what happened outside Vajra in the Great Thousand World. And make Vajra ready to fight at any time. In just a dozen or so breaths, the terrifying aura had already reached Shu Yufan's back. When Shu Yufan ran away, he only felt a surge of magic power flashing above his head. Then a figure flashed in front of Shu Yufan, and a rogue cultivator wearing a grey Taoist robe appeared in Shu Yufan's line of sight, directly blocking his way. From Shu Yufan's point of view, this grey Taoist robe cultivator is about 40 years old, tall and thin, with pale skin, and a pair of small eyes revealing everything. Senior, why are you blocking my way? Shu Yufan stopped and asked in a deep voice. The grey-robed cultivator did not answer, but asked rhetorically. Where are you going, little friend? Junior is going to Tianfang City. Shu Yufan replied with narrowed eyes. The direction to Tianfang City is wrong, it should be in the north. Is the little friend lost, or is he fooling me, Lu? Quote. The grey-robed cultivator's tiny eyeballs rolled round and round, as if he could see through Shu Yufan. Shu Yufan was stunned for a moment. He didn't know which direction Tianfang City was at all, and he was just looking for a random reason just now. He didn't expect the other party to ask. That should be Junior going in the wrong direction. Shu Yufan coughed a few times and said awkwardly. Really? The grey-robed cultivator, who claimed to be Lu, stared at Shu Yufan thoughtfully. Then he added, the location of this black water pool is very remote, usually not many people come here, and there are no demonic beasts nearby. Little friend appeared here at this time, but Lu couldn't believe it. Quote. Shu Yufan's heart trembled. These rogue cultivators were not easy to deal with. After thinking for a while, Shu Yufan cupped his hands and said to the cultivator surnamed Lu, Senior is really powerful. Since the senior has already seen the clues, then Junior also. There is no need to hide it. That's right, I really didn't go to Tianfang City, but came to this black water pool specially for business. Quote. Hearing this, a surprise flashed in the eyes of the cultivator surnamed Lu, but it was only a blink of an eye, but it was also clearly captured by Shu Yufan. The other party was indeed the rogue cultivators who wanted to trade with Hu Bo. Shu Yufan didn't wait for the cultivator surnamed Lu to speak, so he rushed to ask questions in front of the cultivator surnamed Lu. Dare to ask, Senior, did you also come to Haishweden specially for business? Shu Yufan asked in a deep voice. The cultivator surnamed Lu hesitated for a moment, and finally nodded. That's right, Lu also came here specially. But for a deal? Shu Yufan asked. Good. This time the cultivator surnamed Lu did not hesitate, and immediately answered Shu Yufan's question. When Shu Yufan heard that the other party admitted that he was the rogue cultivators, his heart couldn't help but beat. After pondering for a while, Shu Yu took out Long Wenji's nameplate and threw it over. Long Wenji, a disciple of Qianyuanzong, came to Haishuidan to trade with the senior under the order of the headmaster Zhou Chengqing. Shu Yufan directly used Long Wenji's identity and hid his own real name. Are you really a deal? The cultivator surnamed Lu took the nameplate thrown by Shu Yufan, and after a little inspection, he confirmed the authenticity of it. The nameplate has the words Qianyuanzong and Long Wenji on it, so the cultivator with the surname Lu has no doubts at all. Throwing the nameplate back to Shu Yufan, the cultivator surnamed Lu said in a dissatisfied tone, "Why did the headmaster Zhou send you, a kid in the qi refining period, to come here? Do you have any intentions?" The meaning of cultivator surnamed Lu is obvious, it is to confirm whether Shu Yufan came alone and whether there are any helpers. Master has to deal with sect's daily affairs, and has no spare time to come to deal with senior, so he asked junior to come here instead of the old man. Shu Yufan lowered his head, and his tone was calm, neither hasty nor impatient, and his words were somewhat decent. "Oh, so you are alone?" the cultivator surnamed Lu asked meaningfully. Shu Yufan's heart moved, and he clearly understood the meaning of these words. Moreover, the tone of these words is also different from the previous ones. The cultivator surnamed Lu obviously has other thoughts. Shu Yufan was on guard secretly, but replied calmly. "Exactly," Master said, "the matter of this trip is important, and it is not appropriate for others to know, so I let Junior come alone." The cultivator surnamed Lu was overjoyed when he heard that, and asked impatiently, "Then can you bring the spirit stones?" "That's natural," Shu Yufan nodded, and then asked, "Do you have the 2 spiritual herbs of the senior?" "Don't worry, this is it." After the cultivator surnamed Lu finished speaking, he flipped his hands and took out 2 jade boxes. Shu Yufan's eyes lit up, but he remained silent. "Little friend, according to the rules, should you let me see your spirit stones?" the cultivator surnamed Lu asked in a deep voice. Shu Yufan nodded and said, "Of course." While speaking, Shu Yufan raised his right hand, and suddenly, a storage bag was raised by him, floating in the air in front of him. "Senior, this is the storage bag for storing spirit stones." Upon seeing this, a look of surprise flashed across the face of the cultivator surnamed Lu. "Okay, then we'll exchange." After the cultivator surnamed Lu finished speaking, he waved his left hand, and the 2 jade boxes slowly floated towards Shu Yufan. Just as Shu Yufan was about to punch out the storage bag, suddenly, his heart throbbed, and a bad premonition rose from his heart. "No, this jade box is fraudulent." Sure enough, just as Shu Yufan screamed in his heart, the speed of the 2 jade boxes increased sharply. It turned into 2 streams of light and hit Shu Yufan's chest, and the speed was so fast that Shu Yufan was not allowed to dodge at all. Shu Yufan's eyes widened, and he slapped the storage bag extremely quickly, and 5 wooden shield symbols were sacrificed at the same time, omitting a red mask to cover himself. At the same time, Shu Yufan flipped out 2 thunderbolt beads. Finally, Shu Yufan did not forget to take the storage bag back into his hand. At this time, the streamers transformed from the 2 jade boxes naturally approached Shu Yufan, and were about to hit the red shield of the wooden shield amulet. The 2 thunderbolt beads shot by Shu Yufan blocked Lu Guang in time. Boom, boom, boom. A violent explosion came out, and the 2 thunderbolt beads exploded instantly when they touched the 2 streamers of light. The power of the terrifying explosion swept away in all directions. The first to bear the brunt was Shu Yufan. The terrifying explosion force instantly tore through his 5 layers of red mask, making his body. Qi and blood churned, his mouth and nose were bleeding, and his whole body was also rushed away by this terrifying power. Boom! A loud noise came out, and a towering tree with a height of 100 feet collapsed. The huge impact force was not dispelled by the big tree. After Shu Yufan smashed more than a dozen big trees surrounded by 2 people in succession, he fell to the ground and smashed directly into the soil. Puff! A mouthful of blood spewed out, and Shu Yufan felt as if all the bones in his body were falling apart. What a powerful attack! Shu Yufan climbed up with difficulty, looked at the cultivator surnamed Lu in the distance, his face was pale. His reaction was already very timely, and the defense of the 5 wooden shield symbols was strong enough, and with the 2 thunderbolt beads he fired, he still couldn't withstand the attacks of the 2 beams of light. The cultivator in the foundation establishment period, a casual blow is so terrifying, it really is the crushing and refining period. Fortunately, my perception of danger is far superior to that of ordinary cultivators, and I can detect danger in advance, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. Hey, you reacted quite quickly, you kid, and you didn't get killed by my mandarin duck twin blades. The cultivator surnamed Lu gasped in surprise, and looked at Shu Yufan, who stood up in surprise. He didn't expect Shu Yufan to be able to survive his surprise attack. He used this move to attack a lot of foundation establishment early-stage cultivators. None of them survived, either they were seriously injured or directly killed by the double-edged mandarin duck. Hearing this, Shu Yufan looked at cultivator Lu with a gloomy face, only to see that the two beams of light had returned to his hands. At this time, he was looking at Shu Yufan with a ferocious face. Senior has a good trick, and he didn't care about his face to attack Junior. Shu Yufan said sarcastically. The cultivator surnamed Lu didn't blush, and replied with a normal face, "Boy, face is worth a few dollars, the journey of cultivating immortality is extremely cruel, and life and death are at the moment of thought. In order to achieve the supreme Tao, face is nothing. Besides, Shu immortal world is not immortal rivers and lakes, everything speaks by strength. As long as Lu is strong enough, who can tell me right from wrong?" Quote. Shu Yufan looked at Lu's surname cultivator and did not refute. This cultivator surnamed Lu can see clearly, his words are indeed true, if you don't have enough strength, who will care about your face? Just like now, even if the other party knew that Shu Yufan was a disciple of Qian Yuanzong, they still attacked him. However, although Shu Yufan did not refute the cultivator's surname Lu, it did not prevent this fool from being. Senior is not afraid of Junior's headmaster by doing this. Shu Yufan asked in a deep voice. "Haha, you mean Zhou Chengqing?" The cultivator surnamed Lu smiled disdainfully. "So what? Do you think he can find you now to save you? Since Zhou Chengqing sent you, a kid in the qi refining period, to come here, he must have the consciousness of being killed and robbed of spirit stones by me. If it is a cultivator in the foundation establishment period, I am happy to trade normally. Unfortunately, you only have the qi refining period." Quote. "Oh, do you think killing me and robbing spirit stones can escape Qian Yuanzong's pursuit?" A sarcastic look appeared on Shu Yufan's face. "Hey, do you think I'm afraid?" The cultivator surnamed Lu snorted coldly. Shu Yufan smiled lightly, and said, "The senior is not putting Qian Yuanzong to put in one's eyes." The cultivator surnamed Lu looked at Shu Yufan contemptuously after hearing the words. "I am not afraid to tell you, I will naturally leave the Great Qin Kingdom and go to other countries after I snatch the spirit stones from your hand. No matter how powerful your Qian Yuanzong is in the Great Qin Kingdom, you will not be able to extend your hand to other regions." Quote. Senior really intends to kill Junior and leave no room for survival? Shu Yufan asked firmly. I, Lu, robbed resources and never left anyone alive. The cultivator surnamed Lu said contemptuously. Okay, since Senior is so determined, Junior has nothing to say. After that, Shu Yufan decisively raised the spirit stones in his hand, threatening, "I'm not afraid to tell you, this storage bag has a total of 30 high-grade spirit stones, originally to buy your spiritual herbs. But if the senior wants to kill me, then I have no choice but to let the spirit stones in this bag accompany me to die." Quote. After Shu Yufan said, "Roll up the magic power and wrap the storage bag." Wait, boy, wait, the cultivator surnamed Lu is in a hurry, 30 high-grade spirit stones, but that is 300,000 low-grade spirit stones. How could such a large amount of wealth be ruined by this kid? What are you waiting for? Why didn't the senior kill Junior? Shu Yufan sneered. What a cunning fellow. HMPH, boy, you are cruel, give me the storage bag, and I promise to give you a way out. Quote. The cultivator surnamed Lu gritted his teeth. Senior sister, are you serious? Shu Yufan asked. Nonsense. I, Lu Fei, have never regretted what I said. Cultivator Dao with the surname Lu. Okay, I hope Senior can keep his promise. Shu Yufan said. A look of joy flashed in Lu Fei's eyes. Senior, catch it. Shu Yufan threw the storage bag in his hand at Lu Fei. Lu Fei was overjoyed, moved his body, and grabbed the storage bag. Seeing this scene, Shu Yufan showed a sinister smile. In the blink of an eye, Lu Fei was already close to the storage bag. He reached out and grabbed the storage bag. At this moment, a huge black light curtain suddenly appeared around, wrapping towards Lu Fei at an extremely fast speed. This is exactly the sleepy spirit net sacrificed by Xu Yufan. Just now, taking advantage of Lu Fei's focus on the storage bag, he hid the sleepy spirit net behind the storage bag, and when Lu Fei caught the storage bag, he immediately controlled the sleepy spirit net to wrap around Lu Fei. Lu Fei grabbed the storage bag, his expression changed, and he roared angrily. "Boy, you are cheating, you are courting death." Xu Yufan laughed when he heard this. The senior was joking. The senior is a cultivator during the foundation establishment period. Isn't it normal for junior to use some tricks? If you want to blame it, blame the senior for being too greedy and not taking junior seriously. Quote. Xu Yufan said, urging the sleepy spirit net to wrap around Lu Fei with all his strength. Lu Fei had no time to escape, so he had to counterattack passively. He shot out the Mandarin duck double blades in his hand, then slapped the storage bag, and a flying sword appeared in his hand. The twin blades of Mandarin ducks turned into shooting stars, shooting towards the surrounding sleepy spirit nets. Lu Fei waved the flying sword in his hand again, and suddenly a tyrannical sword light rushed out, cooperating with the double-edged Mandarin duck to bombard the black light curtain. However, the black light curtain was like mercury, without any damage at all, but thickened more and more. What kind of magical item are you? You can't even break my foundation establishment period cultivator. Lu Fei cursed angrily, and then slapped out with his palm, hitting the double-edged Mandarin duck. The double-edged Mandarin duck shines brightly, turning into one. A gorgeous sea of flames struck towards the black light curtain. The black light curtain was impacted and expanded outwards, and was almost crushed by Lu Fei. Xu Yufan immediately felt a powerful magic power backlash back, sweetened his mouth, and spurted out a mouthful of blood. Worthy of being a foundation establishment cultivator, it's really amazing. Xu Yufan was terrified in this confrontation, although he took advantage of it by surprise. But when Lu Fei reacted, he was immediately at a disadvantage. According to his estimate, the next round of attack on the Lingling net will probably be destroyed by Lu Fei. No, the battle must be resolved as soon as possible. Resoluteness flashed in Xu Yufan's eyes. He slapped the storage bag, and dozens of talismans of different colors flew out. Go! Xu Yufan activated the magic power in his body, sent it to the talisman, and hit Lu Fei. You little boy, do you think these low-level talismans can hurt me? I really don't know what to say. Quote. Lu Fei shouted coldly. Immediately, with a wave of the flying sword in his hand, a white sword chi shot towards a dozen pieces of talisman paper. Boom! Whizzing! Bang bang bang! After a few crisp sounds, more than a dozen talisman papers exploded instantly, turning into shards and floating in the air. This is also okay. Xu Yufan turned pale with shock. The talisman he sacrificed was destroyed by Lu Fei before it could be displayed. This situation is simply the greatest insult to the talisman maker. Seeing Xu Yufan's horrified expression made Lu Fei feel great. Boy, don't show this kind of low-level talisman out of embarrassment. As long as it is a foundation establishment period, it can be easily resolved. Lu Fei mocked. Oh, really? Xu Yufan sneered, then try this. After all, Xu Yufan flicked his fingers. I saw 9 sword lights shooting out, with a speed like lightning, flying towards Lu Fei's eyebrows, chest, neck and other fatal points. HMPH, talismans are not good, let alone your sword move. Lu Fei sneered. With a wave of the flying sword in his hand, he also slashed towards the sword glow. Boom! There was another explosion, and the flying sword was shattered by the sword glow, and dissipated directly in the air. Just when Lu Fei thought this was settled, he wanted to sneer a few words. Suddenly, more than a dozen black shadows flew over at an extremely fast speed. Lu Fei was startled, but quickly recovered his original disdain. In his eyes, how much harm could a waste in the qi refining period do to him? The most important thing is to get rid of the black light curtain. Thinking like this in my heart. As soon as Lu Fei retracted his magic power, he controlled the Mandarin ducks to slash at the dozens of black shadows. Thunderbolt beads, give me, explode. The blue veins on Xu Yufan's forehead were exposed, and the magic power poured out. That's right, those dozen or so black shadows are exactly thunderbolt beads. When Shu Yufan shot out the 9 sword lights, he repeated his old plan and shot out 16 thunderbolt beads, followed the 9 sword lights, and blasted at Lu Fei. What? Thunderbolt beads? Lu Fei was taken aback. Unexpectedly, the other party kept a hand, and there was even a thunderbolt bead. This thunderbolt orb is not an ordinary magical item. It is offered in a set, but it is a one-time magical item that can kill a cultivator in the Foundation establishment period. As a Foundation establishment cultivator, he still knows. Lu Fei didn't care about breaking the trapped spirit net, so he hurriedly sacrificed a defensive magical item in front of him. Then he recalled the Mandarin duck and double blades to stand in front of him. As soon as Lu Fei finished all this, 16 thunderbolt beads came to him. Boom! The first thunderbolt bead hit the defensive cover, exploded, and made a dull sound, and the protective cover formed by the defensive magical item vibrated violently. The twin blades of the Mandarin duck also shook violently. Lu Fei's expression changed. He didn't expect the thunderbolt's attack to be so tyrannical. The first thunderbolt explodes, then the second, the third. After each thunderbolt bead exploded, the defense of Lu Fei's defense magic treasures also weakened a little bit. Lu Fei felt that the defensive cover was getting weaker and weaker, and the double-edged Mandarin ducks were dangling more violently. Seeing this situation, Lu Fei showed anxiety on his face. Finally, after the explosion of the 12th thunderbolt bead, the Mandarin ducks and double blades were the first to be unable to hold on. With a cry of Wang Ming, he was shaken out of Lu Fei's control, and flew away 100 meters away. The protective shield formed by the defensive magical item is also about to collapse. The explosive power of 10 thunderbolt beads in a row is so powerful that even Lu Fei in the Foundation establishment period can hardly resist it. Not only that, the magic power backlash of Mandarin duck and double blade also made Lu Fei so angry that he almost couldn't hold back a mouthful of blood spraying out. Lu Fei cursed secretly, bit the tip of his tongue, and sprayed a big mouthful of blood essence on the defensive cover. Immediately, the light of the protective cover rose sharply, and after a burst of buzzing, it once again blocked the 13th thunderbolt bead. Lu Fei's face was pale, obviously exhausted. Let me see where you place the remaining thunderbolt beads. Shu Yufan let out a roar, and the remaining 3 thunderbolt beads blasted towards the protective shield together. Lu Fei's eyes were wide open, his face was extremely ferocious, and he frantically urged the magic power in his body to hit the defensive magical item. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.